All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
Oh my days. None of these normal intro today. I don't know what is happening, guys. Honestly, I had about a couple of hours nap. I just woke up. Literally, my wife just woke me up 5 minutes ago. And now I'm here, with RJ, ladies and gentlemen. My main man, RJ, is here. And RJ is telling me that Jose Mourinho is sacked. I just slept for a couple of hours and I wake up to the madness that Jose Mourinho is sacked. And I just need to get my head around everything as to what's going on, because there was the whole European Super League that we wanted to talk about, which obviously we still will. But then now there's this whole story about, Jose Mourinho being sacked as well. And I'm going to bring in Scott. Scott, how you doing as well? One of RJ's mate. Scott, my man, what's happening?
Good evening. Not often you get many Arsenal fans on here.
Not that often they make it over here, but it's crazy. But yeah, RJ, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Oh, well, good. Is it good? Is it bad? It's shock. Put it that way. Well, and Scott, for those that don't know, Scott and I, we're co-hosts of a Premier League pod called It's a Football Thing, and just want to say welcome to one fellow Super League compatriot to another, I suppose.
Brilliant. Honestly, boys, I don't know where to start. I don't know if I should talk about the European Super League or Jose Mourinho. Look, let me just get up to speed of things. I'll go to you, RJ. RJ, tell us a little bit about the whole Jose Mourinho and what's happening in that news while I just wrap my things around everything.
Yeah, I got a few notes here. Got the little trusty handbook out. Been so much going on, Miz. And from what I saw in the last hour, we saw from a few credible journalists, Ornstein, we also saw from Fabrizio Romano that, yes, the super coach, the special one, or the once was special coach Mourinho, sacked sensationally by Tottenham. And I've heard reports that one of the actual reason was that Mourinho refused to let the players go out on the training pitch because of what's happening in the Super League space. So, yeah, I'm scared to go to the bathroom now because a club might go into administration or something. It's crazy.
That's how it feels, literally, guys. I don't know about you. I've been waking up early because of the Ramadan this month, so I wake up early to eat. I literally woke up about 4:30ish, and I saw my WhatsApp, Matisse, Yunus, all of ththese Chelsea legends WhatsApping me saying that there's a breakaway league. Chelsea are possibly going to be. I don't know, something's going to happen to them in the Premier League. They're not going to be in the Champions League. Scott, from your perspective, man, what is going on?
First of all, commiserations to Tottenham Hotspur and Jose. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke. But it's been nuts. The phone hasn't stopped. I mean, I was still pumping from the 1-1 draw against Fulham. I was still pumping from that. But in our group message, myself, RJ, and Rob, who's our other co-host, it's just been back and forward brawls between Rob and I all day because I know it's crazy, right? And humans, we don't like change. We don't like change. If we're comfortable, we don't want things to change. So a lot of people have defaulted straight away to, I hate this. This is the death of football. Football's lost its soul. But from where I'm sitting, Miz, RJ, football's soul started dying a long time ago. Let's be honest. We are fans of some of the biggest clubs in the world. Chelsea benefited from a billionaire coming in, revitalizing you, rebranding you, bringing some of the best players and managers. Arsenal have benefited in terms of marketing big time. All our clubs have benefited from their power status. I'm not for this. I'm just saying I want to wait and learn a little bit more about
100%. But you know what, Scott? I agree to an extent. We've seen signs of this. We've seen one club getting taken over. We've seen Manchester City. We've seen Arsenal get increased funds. But obviously, this is not apples and apples because this is a whole league shake up. You know what I mean? Like, this is a fundamental move from 12 teams slicing and dicing and going to a whole separate league themselves. So you can understand why it's not the same. I know you're saying there were signs there, but this is massive, man. Like, this is crazy stuff.
Hey. This is proper madness. I just want to quickly read this out from Nizar. Jose Mourinho's removal had nothing to do with the Super League. Amazing how many people believed wind-up tweet. It was just a decision based on the poor recent results. Another source has suggested that he increasingly lost the dressing room at the end of the reign. Look, obviously Nizar, he's a well-esteemed sort of journalist from the Chelsea point of view. He's saying there's nothing to do with Super League. We'll see what sort of transpires out of all of this, because it does seem. I mean, look, 100% Jose Mourinho and Spurs, they haven't been getting the results that they've been desiring in recent times. But I find the whole timing of all of this a bit strange. And you know how Jose is about all of these things. He's all about the football heritage. But here's the thing. Let's really get into this. Let's now talk about the whole European Super League and the Breakaway League. Guys, so where do I start with this? Let's talk about it from the players' point of view, RJ. Are you one of those supporters that think that players actually had no idea about this? Because I saw Rio Ferdinand's interview.
War on football. Yeah,
the whole his perspective on it. There's a video that I posted on Twitter. I'm not sure, Scott, if you got to see that. Rio Ferdinand looked like he was absolutely, devastated. He was 100% disgusted by this whole news. And his reaction kind of made me feel like there was no way. I feel like someone like Rio Ferdinand is still in the know. It's like he doesn't know what's going on inside football. He'd be very much connected with the with the situation with Man United and whatnot. And Rio Ferdinand looked like he had no idea. And obviously he had the idea that this was happening and this was being talked about. But for these big six, so-called big six, which Chelsea's part of, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City, and Liverpool, he wasn't aware that this was really going to happen, that they're going to pull away, create their own little European competition, and basically just leave everyone for dead. He pretty much got out and said that this is war on football. So, RJ, I mean, do you feel like some of the players know what's going on?
Look, this is, I think about it as it's like any sensitive business, like any major business, it's only on a need-to-know basis, and they do their best to try to keep this stuff very tight-knit, because can you imagine this sort of info leaking out and before they have a coordinated response? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they have to lock down this pretty tightly. But having said that, I'd find it pretty strange and unusual that some players didn't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we knew that these announcements were forthcoming. It's just the level of detail that we probably weren't too keen on. So I don't know, man. Like, to me, I'm a little bit questioning how genuine some of this punditry is. Like, I do believe Rio, I do believe Gary, but I do wonder, are they really that shocked, or are they just acting on the interests of their broadcasters and saying, this is a huge story, we want you to play on this as big as you can because it's massive?
Wow. Man, there's conspiracy theories all over the place. Scott, just let's think about it from a player's perspective, because obviously there's a whole heap of different perspectives which we're going to touch on. From a player's perspective, the players of these big six, so-called big six teams, obviously there's teams from Italy as well, Spain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and many other clubs that are looking to queue up to join. There's literally, we'll talk about the format. I think there's going to be 20 teams, 10 teams on each side, and then they're going to play each other. And then it's very much an NFL basketball style, Conference A versus Conference B meeting together in the quarterfinals. Very American way of looking at the sport. But from a player's perspective, Scott, I mean, if the fans are hating this, and there's been massive backlash over the last 24 hours, how do you reckon the players of Man United or Arsenal or Chelsea or the other ones are feeling at the moment? I mean, surely they cannot be approving this particular move.
Look, I think it's going to bubble down to a couple of things. And with the players, you can see players, and I'll use one of your boys as an example, Mason Mount. Absolutely love Mason Mount, even though I'm a fan of the enemy.
Be careful, mate, what you say. Be careful what you say about Mason.
Well, with our Super League money, we might put in a bid for him.
There's no way.
I mean, you look at someone like Mason Mount, right? He's young. You can tell that when he pulls on that England shirt, he does it out of a place of pride, joy, love. He wants to play for his country, right?
Yeah.
Players like him are really caught between a rock and a hard place because on one side, they're going to have all of the financial gains that this Super League will offer them. And they will profit because the markets in Asia, India, the Middle East, all those markets, fans that live far away from clubs, we're used to not attending matches. So I'm going to put on the record, I would watch the European Super League. Do I love it? No. Would I watch it? Of course I'm going to tune in to Arsenal, Real Madrid. But the players caught between the money that's going to offer to set themselves up and their families for the whole future and the perks and benefits and the pride of representing your country. I really feel for the players and the managers. You know, I wonder what Tuchel thinks. I wonder what Arteta thinks. I wonder if these guys have even been given a say.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, Scott, I'm not really sure when the timing is because we've got a match coming up on Wednesday morning our time, which is going to be Tuesday night UK time, Chelsea versus Brighton. So naturally, there's meant to be a press conference.
Yeah.
Man, honestly, Thomas Tuchel is going to get bombarded massively, and I don't know how much he knew about all of this. And we'll get to figure out, what you just said, Scott. That what do they actually have to say about it? As you said, Scott, from an international fan point of view, us three were international fans. You know, we may not be the locals living in UK at the moment, and absolutely close with our clubs in London. We are international, and as you said, Scott, if whatever it means, we're still going to follow Chelsea at the end of the day. This Super League will break away, create its own league. We may even need to get subscriptions to watch this particular Super League. It may not be cheap. It may be quite expensive, but at the end of the day, we're still going to do it, which is the crazy thing because we love the club so much. And you're right, Scott. You know, some of these players are probably looking at this and thinking, wow, there's a big payday coming up very, very soon because they're all going to get a bumper ride. This is, I just want to quickly read this out before we move on to more of this particular news. And as it's developing, we discuss more about it. Ander Herrera, PSG player, ex-Man United player, obviously, you know, he's probably one of the very few players that have come out and talked about this. So he basically is stating, I fell in love with popular football, with the football of fans, with the dream of seeing the team of my heart compete against the greatest. If this European Super League advances, those dreams are over. The illusions of the fans of the teams that are not giants of being able to win on the field, competing best competition will end. I love football and I cannot remain silent about this. I believe in an improved Champions League, but not in the rich stealing what the people created, which is nothing other than most beautiful sport on the planet. RJ, let's talk about this. We finally have a player coming out and talking about this from PSG. I'm worried PSG is probably going to be one of those teams that will end up joining this anyway. I know at the moment they're not there.
Or Bayern Munich,
or Bayern Munich. And there's a whole heap of conspiracies around there. Bayern Munich in Bundesliga, apparently they're all run by 50+1 share by the fans and the remaining is by private ownership and whatnot. So they can't actually do this. But I've also been in the narrative that it doesn't take time to change that. Do you know what I mean? Like it just takes just a way to get around that particular constitution where you can end up buying some parts of the people's share and you become 51% owners. And before you know it, you're in the Super League. And they'll find ways to get there. Well, what's your thought about that whole Ander Herrera coming out and talking about this? Obviously, PSG are not one of those 12 teams being talked about, but surely you cannot see how PSG stick around not being part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's at the end of the day, it's all very raw, it's very fresh, and he's not doing anything out of turn by speaking against his club who have officially made the decision to join. So if you're ever going to get your honesty and your 2 cents worth, now's the time before in 3 hours' time PSG make their official announcement, so to speak. But I think, you know what, he's just representing a purist's point of view, and I have nothing against what he said. I dare say, though, his tune might have changed ever so slightly if PSG were one of the 12 clubs. But at the end of the day, he's probably just echoing the thoughts of the vast majority of the football world. But I think that it's quite interesting because I've got, like I said, I've got this little list in front of me before I came on. I said, okay, I'm trying, you know me, Miz, Scott, very balanced. It's about trying to weigh up pros and cons, right? And on face value, there's a lot of cons associated with this. We're very crystal clear on what they are. But, you know, even with the pros, the side of it from a fan's point of view is that at least, like you said, Scott, if Arsenal don't qualify for European competition or Chelsea doesn't, whoever, the benefit is that you get to see your club play the bigger teams more frequently rather than versing a lower team every so often. So I guess from our point of view as a fan, at least you can see those occurrences. But using the other side of the coin analogy in the spirit of the show, is is the Real Madrid versus Arsenal, is the Chelsea versus the Inter Milans of the world, does that lure or does that quality get diluted because of the fact that you're versing them more regularly and there's no incentive system, like Rio Ferdinand mentioned? Where is the punishment? Where is the punishment if you don't perform well? And where is the carrot if you do perform well? Because it's just a recycled competition. And at the end of the day, these clubs that are chosen, and we'll get onto that later, what was the criteria? Anyway, we'll get to that. But out of those 12 clubs, they banked on the success of their fan base based on using the competition format that they've been using since the beginning. So now that they've grown their global fan bases from winning Champions Leagues or winning Premier Leagues, and now have said, we're going to pack up and go do our own thing, surely there's got to be a consideration of how does this impact our global fan base going forward? So there's just so much to go through it. I'll just show you a little snippet. These are the different stakeholder groups I've written down. It's one of these crazy.
Let's bring that up. Show it again. Show it again.
So I'll show you back. So what I've said, I've got like UCL, domestic leagues, fans, youth, the punditries, the players, the government, internationals. There's just so many stakeholder groups here, guys. And I just think we haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Massive stakeholder groups, and we're going to get into all of this very, very soon. Bakary Sanya from the Arsenal days, your man Scott, he's just tweeted out, okay, I think I will stop watching football because football, I know it's not football anymore. Okay, boys, let's now really deep this. Okay, let's go from the grassroots as to how this all materialized. First of all, thank you to the live chat that are live right now, to almost 30 people that are on. Thank you so much for the support and checking this out. Look, let's start from the beginning and try and give our audience exactly how this materialized, the Super League, and let's try and understand from there on all the implications and whatnot and what can happen, all the different stakeholder groups, as you said, RJ. So I'll go to you, Scott, first of all. From my understanding, what I understood was that this all culminated because some of these top clubs, the so-called 12 clubs that are involved in the Super League, they believe they're not getting enough income from the Champions League. So they were saying that they were pretty much telling UEFA that you're earning a lot of money and you're not giving it to us. You're only giving 30% of that to us. And we don't think that's fair because at the end of the day, most of the time, almost 95% of the time, it gets to the semi-final stage or the quarter-final stage, most around the semi-final time, it's generally the top clubs like it is right now. You know, your Chelsea's, your Real Madrid's, Barcelona's, Liverpool's, and all of those guys, Man City and PSG, they're the ones who make up the final sort of stages of this competition, and they're the ones who are bringing in the big bucks for UEFA. So, Scott, basically what they're saying is, I think it's something around 30% of the revenue that UEFA is making through Champions League, they eventually get. So these clubs are saying, you know what, UEFA, go stuff yourself. we'll just pull away, have our own league, and we make 3 to 4 times more than what we're making now. So I think something around clubs are making top clubs, these 12 clubs. I'm not really sure how Spurs are doing it, but yeah, so some of these top clubs are making something about 100 to 150 million per year when they make it to the Champions League, and eventually they go up the ladder to the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. But Scott, some of these teams will be earning somewhere about 300 million to 400 million dollars now off the back of this European Super League situation. So this seems to be the whole culmination of where it started. What's your thoughts about this? Because there's talks about that, UEFA also the way they changed the format in recent years, how, we've gone from, I believe, Champions League used to be for the top 3 teams in the Premier League, and 3rd and 4th used to qualify, but whereas now 4 teams are in, and then there's, lesser chances of the other teams to go in. So there's been few changes in the Champions League already, and they're looking to make more changes, make it more sort of wider. What's your thoughts about how it sort of culminated? Do you, from your perspective, is that what happened, or are there other information around it as well?
I think before the three of us get into it, the kind of caveat we have to put out there, because your live chat is absolutely pumping. You have such a great base of fans and supporters. It's good to see that pumping, but I think we need to really put out there, this is still very new for everyone. Yeah. This is still very raw. There are still so many details to come out. Like I said, my default reaction to this was one of shock. But then when I sat back and thought about it, this is not something that's just come about in the last couple of weeks. For this kind of thing to happen, for some of the biggest clubs in world football to come out and make a joint statement and announcement, this has been planned over many years, in my opinion. I've no proof of that, but something like this doesn't happen overnight. And I'm going a little bit further with my thoughts. I dare say the people in charge of our clubs are not silly. They've already predicted some of the outrage. They've already predicted what some of the legal challenges may be, and I think they'd be prepared.
Yeah, but another way of it, I agree totally. It's not like these people have just turned up from the Neville Nobody shop and just said, let's make a breakaway competition on the spot. Obviously, it's been a multi-year thing in the making, and obviously they're addressing the issue around the current setup is just not working for us. I think that's very 100% crystal clear. So tick, that's fine. But I suppose I wonder just if, they use, like every good business, they do stress testing, they do forecasting and modeling. I wonder if they had accurately known or forecasted just how much backlash they would get initially. Maybe they have. But I suppose one of the things is, if the current setup wasn't working, which we agreed it wasn't, is this the right solution to addressing that problem? And I think Declared's got a take on that, Miz. So maybe we can have a look at that one.
Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, we will look into all of that implication. Thank you so much, Declare, for this super chat. Hey, guys, there's a false narrative going around that big clubs would be breaking away from domestic leagues, which is false. It's a UCL replacement in response for the new UCL format of 36 teams. 100% agreed, Declared. So I just want to quickly go back to the Fabrizio Romano tweet. So this is what it is. Official statement. 12 football clubs today joined announced an agreement competition, the Super League. AC Milan, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Barcelona, Inter, Juventus, Liverpool, Manchester City, Man United, Real Madrid, and Tottenham have all joined. So basically these clubs, as Scott has mentioned and as RJ has mentioned and Declared is mentioning, they're basically splitting away from the current Champions League format and creating their own thing. And their whole intention is they still want to stick around in the domestic competition. However, here's the thing, Declared, and I want to hear what the boys have to say. I don't think the domestic leagues are appreciating the fact that these guys are now pulling away, creating their own, Champions League situation and whatnot, because there's a lot of implications in the domestic. There's the top 4 race. What happens to the top 4? Do you know what I mean? Look, let's look at it from a Premier League point of view. Let's talk about this for a second, right? RJ, right now, because this is being touted around being starting next season. This Super League apparently is touted around to start next season in 2021. This is what the club statements from everywhere is saying. August. So this year. So next season. All the clubs have stated this. You look at the Chelsea website, you'll see exactly that's what they're saying. I mean, RJ, if that's the case, that they're looking to start the next season, which is this year anyway, 2021-22, what does the top four mean anymore? What does it matter what Chelsea do against Brighton on Tuesday, tomorrow? I mean, it almost feels like Premier League has been put in a bit of a situation. Same thing with Scott as well, with Arsenal. Does it really matter anymore? Like you're in the Champions League regardless. You're not going to get relegated from it. You're not going to, you're confirmed to be there. So RJ, there's a lot of implications in this from the domestic side of things where I don't think Premier League will be appreciating this one bit.
No, absolutely not. And I think they've made their position with it very clear is that basically this proposed breakaway competition smacks in the face of a merit-based competition system. And there's, again, coming back to that whole incentive punishment setup where the whole premise of the football pyramid is based on the better you are, the better result, the more incentive you get. So if you finish in the top four in the Premier League, you make it to the Champions League. And equally, if you don't perform in the top flight or in any flight, you get relegated and you swap with those performing in the respective leagues below. So absolutely, they're not going to agree because this fundamentally disrupts that model. It'll be interesting, though, because obviously the top 12 teams and the top 6 in the Premier League, if we keep it Premier League specific, it'll be interesting to see, though, if the Premier League or the FA maintain that position because of the financial power of those 6 teams. Will they cave in somewhat and say, okay, you don't want to compete in the UCL or Europa League because it doesn't meet your needs, but we still want you to play in the Premier League because you bring in so much fan base and money. Yeah. So we'll let you continue because at the end of the day, and I've read the statement like 10, 15 times now, according to Perez, it's just all about they want to continue to compete in these domestic leagues and just basically, and they even said UEFA, politically correct or not, they said they want to work with UEFA and the domestic leagues to introduce this new midweek competition. So from their official position, they want the show to go on, but with the aspect of them using their own breakaway league. So as far as they're concerned, they don't want to completely get separated from the leagues like
because you know why, RJ? There's money. Yeah. There's money still in the Premier League that they want. That they don't want to let go of any money, RJ. They want to create this new Champions League format, Super League, get money from there. They still want to stay in their domestic league because they know there's a lot of money there. But RJ, how are they going to get around? Like, I don't get it. Like, I'm pretty sure if there's no implications that besides just winning the league, which is still a big thing, but there is no incentive to be in the top 4 anymore because you're confirmed for Champions League position, well, the Super League position. So from that perspective, RJ, how serious do some of these clubs take this league anymore? Because it's either they win it, or if they don't, if as soon as they realize they're not going to win it anyway, well, they'll just start playing the kids, and then it dilutes the league. I'm not sure how many people will log in to see Chelsea's development squad playing against Leicester or West Ham. What's your thoughts about that, RJ?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and we'll find out in an hour and 20 minutes with Tuchel's press conference, I dare say that one of the first questions will be, does the Brighton game mean anything anymore from your perspective? Because essentially it's almost like a friendly, even though that's being a little bit cynical. That's one way of looking at it. Because you're right. You're either playing to not get relegated or you're playing to win the Premier League under this new model now. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where, like you said, you're an Arsenal, you're a Tottenham, you're an Everton, even us to a lesser extent. If we don't think that you can reasonably bridge the gap with Man City, it's like, okay, well, we're just going to play just to ensure some continuity. Exactly. But we're going to focus on the main moneymaker, which is that new Super League now. But I don't know. There's just, because it's so raw, guys. That's the one thing, like Scott said, It hasn't even been 24 hours. We're going to need time to. I'm sure they've got ideas about how to integrate this, but I just don't. You know what my position is? I think the more I think about it, I honestly think this is just one gigantic power play to say we've put our money where our mouth is. We're saying we're going to go ahead with this new Super League unless you come back with an offer that suits our needs. Because if you don't, we've put our cards on the table and we're going to go ahead with it. So up to you.
And you know what? Yeah, go on, Scott. Yeah.
I think RJ's got a brilliant point there. You know what? These are the big boys putting their cards on the table and saying, you know what? We don't like this 36-team format. That's 36 teams and you've got to divide the revenue between.
Exactly.
We will walk and we will take with us a huge global following and we will take with us a lot of attention and we'll bring all that hype. This is a threat. And I honestly, half of me is thinking if UEFA take the threat seriously and come to the table, maybe they can reach some kind of agreement that keeps everyone happy. But the other half of me thinks that the way the clubs came out, and I think all of the clubs involved handled this so poorly. One of the first things that, you know, in any organization, if you're looking at making big change happen, you don't rush big change and you don't just make big change shouldn't be a huge shock. For them to put out all of those statements just caused massive outrage. It was ridiculous the way they just put it out. There was no open negotiation, no fan forum, no checking opinions. It was just
no consultation, nothing. Yeah.
You're with us or against us. That's what annoyed me about it.
No, 100%. And this is another tweet from Fabrizio Romano. UEFA Executive Committee today has unanimously voted through the new 36-team UCL to start in 2024. There you go, Scott. The things that you were saying, you know, these 12 breakaway teams, they did not want this to happen. And looks like UEFA will go ahead and do this 36-team UCL to start in 2024. And PSG President Nasser Al Khalifi voted for the new UCL 2 as per Tariq Pena. Chelsea, like all the Super League clubs, are set to leave European Football Association. We've already heard Man United has left. I think Liverpool has left the European Association, Club Association as well. We have as well. Now. This is a massive statement. I mean, yes, there is a whole tussle that we've been talking about. It's a power struggle at the moment. But the way it's moving, boys, I don't think they're messing around. These guys are really not messing around. The 12 clubs, the chairman Perez, Florentino Perez, which is the Real Madrid chairman, I believe, as well at the moment. He's the chairman for this breakaway Super League 2. Boys, let's now get deeper into this. So we've talked about how it sort of materialized. Crazy part is, I'm not sure if you guys saw that video from Arsene Wenger, where he talks about it back in 2009. Scott, I'm pretty sure you probably know about this, where Arsene Wenger actually said back in 2009 that this was happening. This is coming. He knew from way back then. Yeah, he knew. He knew that all of these private owners, you know, all of these American owners, they have this ideology that they can make more money. And if all the clubs come together and unite, all the big clubs come together and they say that they want to break away, there's literally nothing to stop them. There's no constitution in the Premier League to say that you can't do that. You got to stay with us. They can literally pull away and do this. And Arsene Wenger said that this is the next thing because of how open Premier League is. You're allowing all these, you know, private investors to come in and own the football clubs. The next thing that's going to happen is this, because they're going to think that we want more money. So, Scott, what do you got to say about that?
I was just about to say to you, and the thing is, there's no way these big clubs would have put out those statements unless they've done their legal homework. They'd be confident that there's nothing constitutionally or nothing in sporting law that can come out and stop them doing this. I'm certain they would have done their homework. Guys like Kroenke, Perez, like Abramovich and his team, that they don't just commit to things like this without doing the legwork. So I'm confident there'd be nothing to stop them. But Arsene did say this, and Arsene knew. But it all comes back to money, boys. When did the top four become like a trophy? Not when Arsenal were doing it for 17, 18 years.
So so true.
All
Well,
about
it's funny, but yeah, it's true. I used to joke around with you, Scott, that when Chelsea became the big one of the big power players and we started winning those Premier Leagues, and you would often say, "Oh, Chelsea, all you care about is business. You care about money." And I'd say, "Yeah, we do care about business, and we're in the business of winning." And that was the thing at the time. But now it's come to fruition that the more and more these individual power players enter the scene, and like you said, Miz, it's just about, like any capitalist thinks, it's all about how can we continuously push the boundaries and incrementally improve on our profit streams, because at the end of the day, it's just another product, whether it's in football or fashion. It's just another product there to be exploited for financial purposes. And unfortunately, we as fans have very little influence on that, because it's like an addiction. We want to consume the product, and whatever happens in terms of the model or the delivery mode, we're still going to consume it because we fundamentally like the sport. I know we'll probably touch on that in terms of fan backlash, but I just thought that was important to bring up, because it's one of those things, Scott. You brought up the whole, they've done their legal homework, but probably more to my point, I wonder just how much homework they've done in terms of the potential reputational damage that would have on their clubs themselves, because not all fans, let's face it, not all fans will think laterally. Some fans will be very straight and narrow. I don't like this. See you later. See you later, Chelsea. See you later, Arsenal. I'm going to go find a new team. And that's fine. So I just wonder how much of that was a factor in this decision.
There have been a lot of fans coming out saying, football's dead, I'm going to support a different team, I'm going to go and change teams. I don't know, boys. Think about your love for your team, right? It's an addiction. It's an addiction. You are addicted to. We live and breathe football. I'm assuming you boys are the same as me. You wait for your fixture. You do your homework. When you lose, you can't sleep. When you win, you're happy. Like, a lot of people are very reactionary. That's why my stance is, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I need to know more. And until I know more, the one thing I'm confident in is Super League, Premier League, wherever it is, I'm going to follow Arsenal and I'm going to watch Arsenal because I love my club. I can't not love Arsenal. I don't know any other way.
Now, you know what? And this is something we're definitely going to talk about as we build this up, Scott. You're right. I mean, it's very, very different for... I just want to quickly read this out from Mesut Ozil before we get into what Scott was talking about, because that's a very important point. Mesut Ozil just tweeted out, kids grow up dreaming to win the World Cup and the Champions League, not any Super League. The enjoyment of big games is that they only happen once or twice a year, not every week. Really hard to understand for all of football fans out there. 100%. I don't want to see Chelsea versus Real Madrid on a week-to-week basis, or Chelsea. They are exciting because they happen so, rarely. Do you know what I mean? That's why we love it. But let's talk about this, because I do want to talk about implications, what happens to the Premier League and other leagues as well. We'll get into that. But let's talk about what you were saying, Scott, that I'm a Chelsea fan and I'll follow Chelsea wherever. And I was telling RJ earlier this morning and to other fans that the crazy part about this Super League is, let's just say for argument's sake, Scott, some of the Londoners, they boycott this. All right, let's just say they don't want to go to the Stamford Bridge, or they don't want to go to the Emirates Stadium because the locals are absolutely fuming that why is our club doing it? So let's just say, for argument's sake, Chelsea game is now going to be played, for example, one of the Super League games is now going to be played at Sydney Olympic Park. All right, Arsenal are going to play Barcelona there. There is no way, Scott, that you're going to be there. Even if the tickets are $500 you are there. I am there. RJ is there. We are going to go there. So these people, Super League people who have designed this, they know very well that the Premier League is not just for UK. It's not just for England. It's for worldwide people. It's for the 2 billion people in India. It's for the 2 billion people in China. It's for all of those, rich people all over Middle East that are willing to pay big bucks to see their teams come to their local areas and watch it. It's for people like us in Australia that would die for this team to come and play here, and we'll go and do it. However, if we fundamentally think about the issue as well, the deep roots, and get into the bottom of it, yes, I was talking to my brother who's also an Arsenal fan, Scott, and he was saying, Yeah, my younger brother is an Arsenal. He was saying, Scott, that fans like you, me, and RJ, and obviously the people in the live chat.
Yeah, and we'll address that, by the way, because I'm seeing some comments there that I think we're going to need to have a bit of a direct response to, just to make our position crystal clear.
Saeed, man, I'm just going to quickly say, Saeed, you need to calm down, my man. You really need to calm down. Just relax, my man. I can see you're getting really annoyed and whatnot. If you're getting annoyed, please just leave the show. This is just a conversation. We may not be right, so you need to calm down. We understand. So we don't go around saying that we're wrong, this wrong. This is just opinion. We're just trying to digest what's going on. So just relax, Saeed, man. Just enjoy the show. If you don't like it, please leave, mate. Please leave. Just enjoy it like all the other people. But anyway, what I was saying is that, RJ, that obviously there's deeper implications, in regards to the leagues itself. But what my younger brother was saying, boys, was that fans like you and me and Scott, we are so much into this, right? We live and breathe it. But there are plenty of fans that are just casual fans, boys. Like they just tune in for that odd game when Arsenal plays in the Champions League or in the Europa League or wherever, when we play in the Champions League. They're not as vested as us that watch, game in, game out about our game, about our team. So for them, boys, it doesn't really even matter whether you do the Super League or you don't. They don't care. They'll watch it anyway. That's what my younger brother was saying. And it's kind of true. I kind of understand that. I'll go to you, RJ, first of all. I mean, do you believe that there's a lot of casual fans out there, plenty of casual fans out there who don't follow Chelsea on a match-to-match basis, but still keep up with stuff? They probably won't even care about this whole Super League. They just want to see their team play week in, week out. And if it means that they get to play Barcelona, Real Madrid, and the top teams out there, they'll watch it anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think just to be clear, because this is so fresh. First up, caveat that. So new, we don't know enough about it. We're not making any definitive statements. We're being open-minded, okay? So that's first up. We're not saying we absolutely hate the idea. We're not saying we love the idea. What we're saying is we're still unpacking it and it's going to take time. Obviously, us three here, we live and breathe for this stuff. When the news broke, we, as you know, for years and years and years, we get up at all hours in the morning, sleep deprived, just to watch this stuff. We don't just consume it, digest it. It's part of our fabric. So to the fact that us three, we're in the highly passionate category fan group. Then you've got the match day going fan group who are also highly passionate, but don't have the geographical boundary that we face, but are also equally passionate. Then you've got down the spectrum, the middle fans that will watch the games regularly, but won't be on social media, won't analyze the matches, won't be the same as us three are in that highly passionate category. And then you get slowly down to the end of the spectrum. Like you said, they'll occasionally watch the game and they won't know if we're versus Stoke City in the Championship versus Barcelona versus whoever.
They will not care.
They're just going to watch it. They'll just say, I'm an Arsenal fan because they watched Thierry Henry 16 years ago and I'm an Arsenal fan now. But the reality is they don't commit. Not you, Scott. I know you're pretty passionate, mate. But you know what I mean?
That's
In
my
general,
boy.
there are those fans. That's your boy. But you know what I mean? We live for this stuff. And you're right, Miz. Some fans, and that's fine, they're not as equally affected by this. But people like us, as you and I were texting all day, this stuff here is shaking the very foundation of how we watch football. So this isn't, to be perfectly clear in the chat, this to us, this is monumental. And I'm just shocked. As someone that's very likes to think they're pretty well considered, I still don't know exactly how this is unfolded. It's just crazy. And I'm still taking my time to fully process it because there's just so much happening. So yeah, I just thought I'd have to address that one, Miz.
No, 100%, man. Scott, basically, this is what seems to be the summary. Dan Rowan, who is the sports editor, BBC News journalist, basically he tweeted not that long ago saying, I'm told by a well-placed source, Man United and Real Madrid are ringleaders. We're going to touch on this now. Man United and Real Madrid are the ringleaders. 3 US-owned Premier League clubs really mean this. Sold on the NFL model of closed league with star clubs players driving value. Others see it more as leverage over UEFA. Unhappy new Champions League format means more dollars shared, pounds shared among more clubs. Big clubs from struggling leagues, Spain, Italy, agitating because their domination has produced boring football outcomes. So you're the likes of Juventus, Bayern Munich, and all that, just creating a monopoly over there, all hurting due to COVID, won control of the competition structure and of revenue distributions. According to Source, some of those involved in the European Super League call traditional supporters of clubs legacy fans. I can't believe it. Like they've named us legacy fans, while they are focused instead on the fans of the future who want superstar names. European Super League insists modeling shows solidarity payments will be boosted 10 billion euros over 23 seasons. European Super League clubs insist they negotiated in good faith with UEFA over the new Champions League, but really dislike new 36-team format, which they feel is quantity over quality. They want consistency in the competition and feel pre-Xmas the current system doesn't work with too many predictable matches. Now, that's honestly a very good summary from Dan. Scott, that's pretty much seems to be the crux of why this has materialized. Real Madrid and Man United seems to be the ringleaders. Then obviously there's the three US-owned Premier League clubs. They really mean this. I mean,
where do you digest that?
I don't know. I'm just baffled, honestly, Scott. Let's just talk about that whole notion of boring competition in the Italian league and Spanish league, because it always seems to be Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and surprisingly, those are the three teams that are moving away and doing this. I mean, and also in the Italian league, both those leagues, Scott, they're struggling money-wise. They're really struggling money-wise because it's not interesting, those leagues. I want to just quickly touch on this now, Scott. Do you feel like, just like you look at A-League, right? How we have the salary cap and whatnot, you don't allow a particular team to run away with the league. How important is to have a balanced league like that? The whole talk about Real Madrid and the Galacticos and Barcelona's doing whatever they want. This is what's going to happen because the money is not trickling down to the rest of the league. And similarly in Italy as well, Juventus has gone out and just monopolized that league. At least in the Premier League, you still have top six, but still, besides those top six, I mean, yes, Leicester in recent times have been trying to break that, and other teams are trying to do that. But Scott, how important is it to have that balance to the league? Because or else you have craziness like this happening, which is what we're seeing now.
Yeah, there's so much. It's all still just running around in my head what was in that tweet. Before I go on to that part, do you mind if I take a step back on the legacy fans point?
Yeah.
Just with that, and Arjo, I think you said it so well in regards to, that this is passionate, this is emotional, this is something we live and breathe. Like, I've been really fortunate in the sense that I've traveled parts of the world to watch Arsenal. I've watched Arsenal play in Japan, watched Arsenal play in Singapore, watched Arsenal play in Sydney, and I've watched Arsenal play home and away in England. Like, I understand and appreciate those match day fans. I'm not enjoying football as much without a full stadium. You know what I mean? So I think, unfortunately, the current model that we've got and this proposed model both have one thing in common. They're focused on making profit. So both of those models are focused on whichever fans are going to buy the merchandise, watch the games, subscribe to watch it. So I really don't like that term, legacy fans. I think we're fans, whether we're international, whether in the stadium. We love the club, and the fans that get to go every week are blessed. Like, it's a blessing. But to go on to that other point, I don't know if it's boring, if those leagues are boring. I don't watch a lot of Serie A. RJ knows that. But over there, I mean, Juventus have been at the top, but before that, AC had their heyday. Inter have always been thereabouts. I don't know if it's
even Napoli as well.
I don't think those leagues are boring, but you need to kind of have competition at different levels, and that's where the current model is brilliant. In the current model with the EPL, we've got the title competition, which we'll probably say is over to Man City. Then you've got that race to the top four. There's a competitive aspect there. Then you've got the race for the Europa League spots. There's a competitive aspect there. And at the bottom, you've got the relegation battle. So the Premier League's working so well because there's competition at so many different levels.
Yeah.
With European Super League, I don't believe that what they're proposing now would be their final model or be what it looks like in 10 years. I think this would just be the beginning. And I dare say that 10 years down the track, it would have relegation or promotion or tiers. But at the moment, the Premier League works so well because there's competition in different spots. And I think that's what maybe the other leagues lack. It's not as hyped, the race to Champions League spots or relegation. But in England, they've done such a good job of marketing that. So I don't know. I think there's definitely value in the current model.
Yeah, no, look, I've always seen value in the current model as well. I've never, just like you boys, it's not like I've always thought the Italian league is boring or Spanish league is boring. Look at the Italian league this season, Scott and RJ. You know, Inter Milan's doing a bit of a madness over there. You know, they've shown that they can. There you go. They've shown that they can topple Juventus. So you know, you look at the Spanish La Liga. You know, Atletico Madrid is doing very well, and they're doing their best to win it on that particular front. Once again, Declare, thank you so much for the super chat. By the way, before I get to the super chat, I've just given out the link so you guys can join. I know, Saeed, you're keen to join Declared. I'm happy for you to join in and provide your thoughts, Saeed, as well. But guys, yeah, literally not more than 2 to 3 minutes is probably the best. I'll just quickly, Declared is on the stream. Let's get him on. Before we get Declared to say his part, I just want to quickly read out the super chat. Once again, Declared, thank you so much, my man. People need to step back and look at the moving parts. It's a massive poker game between these organizations. Super League was leaked for this reaction. I believe so was leaked for the reaction, but Declared, I feel like they're not joking around. I don't think they're backing away from this because it seems like they're moving fast on this. But yeah, go on, Declared. What's your thoughts?
How you doing, guys? It's been a while.
Good.
Jason, Miz, there's a lot to say. As you can see, the super chat's coming in. Everyone's got something to say. But it is a massive poker game. That's how I see it. I've been following the new Champions League reformat, and the Super League news has been coming out for a while now. And so it's just a flex to me. As you can see, the pandemic has happened. Yeah. Everyone's after some money. And that's what it's all about. It's a greed in the end. UEFA have watered down the Champions League. They want 36 teams. If you guys have seen how the format is, it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
And so something's got to give. So there has to be a compromise in the middle. I don't think the Super League's going to happen. But as you said, they have to make it serious. They have to make it like the pulling way to get some kind of response.
Yeah, but Declare, the 12 clubs that are involved, I think all 12 clubs have come out and put a statement that it's starting next season, 2021, August, two groups of 10s and every Tuesday games. Like the clubs have made an official statement saying this is going to happen.
Well, yeah, it was leaked before they came out because that's when the threats of UEFA came in as well. So who knows when they're going to announce it. But
I think this is, you know what, Miz, to your point though, because think of it this way. If they were going to be a bit more passive and just said, UEFA, the Super League's thinking of coming out with this league and more details will follow. But what's more powerful, when the 12 uniting clubs come out at the same time, coordinated attack, basically with our statement saying we're ready to rock and roll in August. I think that all of a sudden, what that does from UEFA's point of view, it speeds along the whole negotiation phase because these guys are seen to ready to sign up rather than just kicking the can down the road, if you know what I mean.
I just 100% right, because they're doing that phase at the moment as well. So the UEFA meetings are on this new format are currently happening. So that's why the leaks have happened. That's why all these talks happening. But we don't want to go to Kazakhstan. That's how watered down the Champions League is. So they want a better deal. They want a better deal. And,
well, look, the
maybe that's the point I can see.
Approved. Apparently, according to what we saw earlier, it's been approved. So UEFA have really, if it is a bluff or it's a gambling tactic, they've called it now. So the ball's back with these 12 clubs. And I think this is going to get really, really messy because they pulled their bluff. Now, they voted through those changes. Porto have just come out and said that they rejected an invitation to the Super League. They said they were invited, but they wouldn't do anything that goes against UEFA. So, mate, this is going to get uglier before it gets better.
Yeah, and that's the thing, declared. The 36 team from UEFA, it's been approved from 2024. It's happening. They're going to go ahead with the 36 team. So who's going to budge here, declared? Who's going to give up?
The 12 teams are always going to lose out. They're missing half the teams, but they're going to try something else. I think they're going to keep pushing this. And all you need is Bayern Munich, PSG, all you need is some other countries to be more upset, and then they're going to jump on the Super League bandwagon as well. And so next time you're going to see this, it's going to come out stronger. And something has to give, like you said.
So from your perspective, Declan, you feel that UEFA will give in, and then they will give the money that these big clubs want, and they'll give them a bigger share, and we'll all revert back to the normal Champions League format? Is that what you're sort of inclining?
I think it's 50-50. If they've the new format is to get 4 new teams, which is more revenue for UEFA.
Exactly.
That's going to be hard to back from. I think that's happening. But maybe the proposal of more money from that, a bigger cut, that might happen. That's what I believe might happen to settle out this Super League talk. But as the way I looked at it, as the leaks have happened, it's to get this response. The media jumped on it. All these players retweeting to show that everyone's against it, and then the 12 big clubs are going to see that maybe they don't have the backing, they don't have traction. So this is going to die down. UEFA are going to get their way, but like I said, that this is going to pop its head up again soon in the future.
The other thing that I want to say, declared as well, these talks about European Super League have been happening for good 5, 6, 7 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like these people that are private investors of these clubs, like your Arsenals, Liverpool, Man United, and as we saw the tweet from Fabrizio Romano, that the initial ringleaders is Man United and Real Madrid, and then obviously the 3 US-owned clubs in the Premier League, declared that these guys, I feel like regardless of what UEFA does, even if UEFA comes back and says, okay, boys, we used to give you guys 30% of the revenue. Obviously, we're going to take it to 30-16. We're going to get more money. Maybe we'll give you guys 35%. Give you guys extra 5%. I feel like these 12 clubs are in a situation where they're thinking, I don't think you understand, my man. We are talking about 4 or 5 times more what we can get by stripping away and making big money, creating this league, superstars galore. Tickets are going to be sold out. Sponsorship, TV rights are going to be off the charts. So I really think, declared, this is going to happen, man.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it has got a lot of traction. If you remember, it only started with a couple of clubs, mainly these US-owned clubs, because that's their mentality. They got that franchise from back home, and that's where it started. But now you got 12 clubs, and like I said, all you need is more clubs to be more upset, like PSG, Bayern Munich, and Ajax, and so many other big countries, and then you will have a Super League. So it's UEFA's job to keep some kind of balance, keep some happiness. But if UEFA are going to be that poorly run and piss off a lot of these clubs, then maybe miss that there could be something serious. This is the most serious it's been of the conversation. It was just a fairy tale before.
You know what I mean? It's like Avengers.
We'll put it this way. Let's just theorize for a minute that we get to June or whatever, and all of a sudden Super League says we've got a satisfactory outcome with UEFA now. They've met our demands, and we're going to pull back from the Super League. What it will do is it'll put everyone on notice that, particularly UEFA, that if they continue to go down this hardball route, these 12 clubs are ready to lock and load and just ready to pick up and take off. So it definitely won't be the same as what it was yesterday and going back in time.
And are they going to do this every time they're unhappy? It's I work with kids. I'm a teacher. Mate, I've got a 2-year-old. I'm used to a tantrum, but
he's a lot smarter than you.
That's not hard. Is this something that the big boys are going to then do? Like, all right, we might come
they're
to
unhappy.
an agreement now. 5 years, hey boys, let's go and make more money. Let's threaten again. A line's really got to be drawn. And I think that's where UEFA are at. Don't get me wrong, UEFA are fueled by their profits, right? UEFA aren't doing this for the joy of football, or because they believe in the spirit and heart of football. Because if they believed in that, they would have reacted this quickly to some of the racism issues.
Yeah.
So some of the things, but racism
Scott, it's never about us. None of these are about the fans. They don't give a two cents about the fans.
Brother, it's all about the Benjamins. And you can see here with Woodward stepping down, this is becoming more real. Like, my initial reaction was,
what I mean.
This is a bit of a bluff, a power play, but the more things keep going, this is getting more real, and both sides have now gone too far trying to, square up to the other.
Yeah, like honestly, Scott, if this is a bluff, let's say if this was a bluff,
it's too late.
They're taking some heavy hits for it to be a bluff. You look at this news. Manchester United have stood down from the European Club Association, and Club Executive Vice Chairman Ed Woodward has stepped down from UEFA roles. That, for me, you don't just do that if it's a bluff.
It's not a bluff anymore. I take it back. I take back what I said an hour and 58 seconds ago, boys. It's not a bluff. This is not a bluff.
My man, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to bring in Saeed, but Declare, hopefully you can stick around for the live show still. We're going to continue on. Obviously, the Chelsea press conference will be just around the corner as well, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there. But Declare, thank you for your time, yeah?
Thanks a lot.
Good night, Declare.
We're going to bring in Saeed now just to get his thoughts before we continue on with all of this, because Saeed had a lot to say about this. Saeed, my man, what's going on? Tell us everything that you want to tell us.
Hey, Saeed.
Hello, RT. Hello. So I know it's very interesting. Mitch, you're a very nice person, and I'm absolutely calm. So
can I just say one thing, Saeed? Look, you've always been part of the show, and I absolutely love that. But you just need to. Don't bash us. We're just fans, man. We don't it's just opinions. The way sometimes you come across in the live chat is that you're bashing us. You're really having a go at us. It's just our opinions. If you've got something to say, you can convey it in a very calm manner. So maybe it's just me that took some of your words a bit aggressive.
What? Okay, tell me. Just for maybe there is a misunderstanding. What is, in your view, bashing what I said?
Just look, okay. Let me just go back to some of these points. I think you were saying that, RJ, you're wrong again. There is no right or wrong here, Saeed. That's what I'm trying to say. There is no right or wrong here. It's opinions. The way you come across and say you're wrong, that person's wrong.
But opinions, that's my opinion. You're wrong. What's wrong with this? When I aggressive.
I would never say to you, Saeed, whatever you say that, Saeed, you're wrong. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, well, that's your opinion.
Maybe that's a cultural thing. I don't know.
Maybe it is.
For me, there is.
No sweat. Yeah.
And of course, yes, I disagree with a lot of what you said. That's all. And
sure.
And I just
now tell us what have you disagreed? Start from the beginning.
Oh, it's a really cultural breakdown in European football culture. Okay, I know you are not from Europe. Am I right?
We're not. Yeah, we're not from Europe. No, we're from Australia.
And here in Europe, I think this will never happen. And I agree with you. From the money side, it's very interesting. And of course, they will make a lot of more money out of it if they would realize. But for me, it's unthinkable. These clubs are deeply connected with their cities, with the history. People they will never accept it. I can speak for sure for clubs like Bayern Munich. They will never ever. You said, oh, they will probably came later or something. This will never happen. Unthinkable.
You're 100% sure. Like you can
Yes.
put your hand on your heart and say Bayern Munich will never join this.
Bayern Munich will never join this.
How can you be so sure, though, my friend? Think about the money in there, and if Bayern Munich don't have a Champions League to play in that has Man City, Chelsea, all these big clubs, where's the attraction?
The sponsors will run away from that particular competition.
Sponsors, profits, all of that.
Look, all these clubs, like you correctly said, there was a transition for several years now, and also all this talk about the Super League. Bayern Munich is the only club in the world from the big clubs. They never made a lose in 27 years. It's an exception. They just don't pay super high. They pay high salaries, but they always have sound finances, financial. It's the other clubs. There are the big gambles. A lot of them, of course, not all. But when I say they will never, in Germany, this idea is totally total. How can I say this? In football here in Europe, there is the solidarity for the small clubs. You have to support the small clubs. Okay, so let's say when you say how much money make the Champions League? I think 2 or 3 billion euros, and 93% of this money goes back to the clubs playing the Champions League. So you support. That's why it is attractive.
Yeah, the whole football pyramid and the money trickles down.
Yeah, and this concept will be defended here in Europe. That's why I think they will never come true with this idea. Yeah.
And honestly, Said, I appreciate your thoughts, but this is moving fast. Like if you look at all the news that's been going around over the last 24 hours from many esteemed journalists, this is moving unbelievably fast. And I see no reason why some of these money-hungry clubs out there would not do this. You look at what De Klerk just commented as well. Bayern Munich, yeah, sure. It may not look like they don't want to join because of their history and the way it's. But sooner or later, Said, as Scott said, if those other 12 teams pull away and the Champions League is no longer the Champions League, it's more like a Europa League, and Bayern Munich are not generating that level of income because they're not getting to play those big teams anymore. The money is not coming from that competition. Mm-hmm. As De Klerk said he, fans will want to join after it happens. Their fans will demand that Bayern Munich needs to go to the Super League and get that money because they wouldn't. I think there was a tweet, and I'll let you come in very soon on this.
Yeah.
There was a tweet that Chelsea and Manchester City didn't want to be part of this because they believed that they had enough money. They didn't want to be part of all of this stuff and get into the Super League because they have enough money. But they've been pushed to get into this because they feel that they're going to lose out on the crazy amount of money that's going to be invested. JP Morgan is going to put in 4.6 billion.
I heard about it.
In this particular competition. Crazy. These guys are not bluffing. Check out JP Morgan. They've released a statement saying we are going to give $4.6 billion to start this. But yeah, Ajay, go on.
No, I was going to say, just because you made a good point, Said, about Bayern Munich, financially sustainable for 27 years, whatever the figures were. But that financial sustainability, in my view, gets put into question if this breakaway league does come into existence, because all of a sudden, Bayern Munich are a big fish in a smaller pond now. And because of that, will the strategic viewpoint of Bayern Munich be that they want to be a dominant team globally, because they are one of the top tier clubs in Europe. They're a Champions League winner just recently. But will they be satisfied in being the top dog in a substandard league going forward, because that will impact their financials and it will impact their reputational status in the footballing community. So even if they don't want to do it, it'll be similar to probably how Chelsea are thinking of that whole fear of missing out and being looked at as the club that you are the top of the crop in a behind-looking league. So it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things where who would have foreshadowed this? Like in a normal setting, in a normal climate, none of these clubs would be doing that, because why would you make such a risk? Why would you do that when the old adage goes, why fix what's not broken? But from these 12 clubs' point of view, something is broken, and that requires this kind of dramatic fix. So who knows what's going to happen, boys?
100%. Said, we're going to have to let you go. Thank you so much for your time, my man. We'll catch you very soon. Thank you so much, Said.
Bye-bye.
Pan Pacific is here, my man. I'll get you on very, very soon to talk about from your perspective. But RJ, it's exactly what you just said. This is a tweet from Simon Phillips, another very, very well-esteemed sort of Chelsea news personality out there. Chelsea had major reservations about joining the European Super League, but they decided they could not afford to be left behind playing in a weakened Premier League and a weakened Champions League. This is exactly what you just said, RJ, that Chelsea, at the end of the day, just could not, like, even though they don't want to do this, but you're forced to get in on this because it's crazy not to, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not black and white, Biz. I've just got to say that very quickly. Like, us, we're fans. We're all fans. We're not in the game, so to speak. And it's very easy from a footballing purist point of view. And there's lots of cons, as we said, associated with all the impacts to grassroots, etc., which we'll unpack. But it's very easy from our point of view to sit here in our comfy chairs to say, oh, it's so easy, just don't do it. Well, sorry, but as a big club point of view, it's not, man. I'm not saying that they've done the right thing. I'm not saying they've done the right thing, but it's not black and white, and it's naive for us to say that it's easy.
There's no choice. I look at Arsenal, boys. We need to be in on this because we've been out of that circle for too long. We've got the stadium, we've got the brand, we've got a good squad. For us, we have to join this because we need to get back into that big pond. For clubs like Chelsea, you have to join this because you don't want to be the big fish then in a little pond. Exactly. For a lot of the clubs, there's not much of a choice now that the bluff has got to this point where it's not a bluff anymore.
And the other factor as well, boys, is that I saw someone comment, as soon as it happens, players would want to be part of that Super League. So it's not going to be very easy for Chelsea to retain some of their players when they want to go to the Super League. It's not going to be very easy for Chelsea to go out there and buy the superstars because all the superstars would want to be part of the Super League teams. They want to play in the Super League. That's where the money is. Pan Pacific, my man, what's your thoughts about all of this?
Actually, hello guys. Good day to you. Actually, I'm disappointed. For me, it's a shame, it's a disgrace, and a bigger shame that Chelsea is involved in this. Because now you look at the money side of it coming into Chelsea Football Club and the 11 other clubs. What about the likes of Burnley, the likes of Southampton, and the other smaller clubs?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go down to the lower divisions, those clubs will gradually go into extinction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. They'll go into liquidation.
Yeah, the big boys will want to have more money while the other clubs will just disappear. It's just like running a business. You're running a small size business and the bigger, somebody with a bigger business and just come up and blow up everything. How will you survive if you're running a small business?
Exactly right.
And this is a lot of the backlash, isn't it, Miz? It's the fact that we're all thinking of, sorry, I was just going to say, we're all thinking about the big clubs. Yeah. But I think a lot of the reservation is, especially, it's what Rio Ferdinand said. It's all about, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And the fact that clubs are struggling for the last 2 years with their money, and now we want to create this new Super League, it's all of these teams down the bottom that are going to get hurt the most. And I think that's what a lot of the reservation, it's all about the equality gap. And I think that's what, on a moral ground, it's a very difficult one to accept. But as we've said, us three have said here, this is a sporting industry. It's a commercial business, and the top end of town, as sad as it sounds, doesn't care about the bottom end of town. And that's a brutal, brutal reality. And there's no right here.
And just to carry on this, and let's discuss this. I'll get you on again, Pan Pacific, to talk about this. The whole idea already, the Premier League has got a huge gap. I know in recent times Leicester has been coming in, West Ham are trying their best, but when you look at it from a budget and a money point of view, your Man Cities, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, their budget and their capacity is far greater than the likes of Burnley and West Brom and all of those other teams. So already the gap is quite huge. Now, if they go ahead and do this Super League and all the money they're going to get out of this, the gap is just going to get even further and further and further. And teams like Burnley and all, they'll absolutely have no shot at this. And the other factor is that if they do pull away, and if it does come to a point where the Premier League, let's just say, this whole thing about the top four, what happens then? The Champions League becomes all diluted. The money stops in there because all the money will go to the Super League. Teams like Leicester, who are now thriving to be in top four so that they can get that injection of money in the Champions League, it all would mean nothing because it won't be the same amount of money anymore. And I just feel like some of these big clubs won't take seriously all of these, fixtures. For example, let's say Arsenal going to Leeds. I'm sure if Arsenal's in the Super League, they're probably not even going to take that Leeds fixture seriously anymore because they'll have a midweek game in the Super League against someone massive, big to compete against, and that Leeds fixture is just going to be just maybe a Carabao Cup type of fixture where they'll just fill in, the development squad. But Pan Pacific, what you got to say about that?
Okay, let's look at it in the footballing side of view. Now you will not want Chelsea to be playing Real Madrid week in, week out. It becomes boring in a certain point in time. Imagine you have to face Arsenal like in the normal season. You have to face Arsenal like 5 times in a season. The first 3 games will be entertaining. The 4th and the 5th game, somehow you're bored of seeing that in one season. Now the excitement of Chelsea playing against West Brom and West Brom winning Chelsea by 5 goals to 2, all will be gone.
Yeah,
that excitement of the smaller
Mm.
clubs pushing to get into Europe and Arsenal struggling to get into European sport, it's all gone.
Yeah,
more joy is no more there. So I think
no more fairy tales, Pan Pacific. No more like those Leicester Cities winning the Premier League. No more, those smaller clubs in the Champions League.
The fairy tale. The fairy
tale will be gone.
How can one of some clubs play in a particular league over and over? If they like, they perform well. If they like, they don't perform well. They still believe they have their spot secured. So where is the competitiveness in the Super League?
Exactly. It will dilute, man. Pan Pacific, thank you so much for your time, my man, and thank you for coming along. We're going to get Patrick to talk about this. We will see you soon. Hopefully you can stick around, Pan Pacific, in the live show, and let's talk to Patrick now. Thanks, Pan. Patrick, my man, how you doing? What's your thoughts about all of this madness?
Miz, it's absolutely crazy. I'm not really a fan of the European Super League. I tweeted about it earlier. To me, it feels a lot like a glorified International Champions Cup. I mean, with just happening in a season-long format. It comes down a lot to me, to money and greed. I actually respect what you guys are talking about, though, about what is a club supposed to do if they don't want to, you have to keep up with the Joneses in a kind of specific way. And I know I won't claim to be an expert on it. I even said that when I tweeted about it, because there's a lot more we're going to have to learn in the coming days, weeks, and months. But I certainly don't like what I've read on the face of it, because as you guys have brought up, as some of your guests have brought up, I don't like what it does to the English football pyramid. Like here in the States, I had something similar with, not in the same way, but like Major League Baseball here in the States. The minor league baseball structure has kind of taken a hit. And I think, and the reason I'm making that kind of
Patrick, talk about this because you have mad knowledge for someone who lives in the States about the whole Major League Baseball and the NBA structure and the MLS. And these are the big dogs. These are the big sports out there. But what about the grassroots? Do the money actually trickle down to those grassroots?
Again, you're going to get different opinions from different. I won't speak for all American fans on this, but I would argue no. And for example, in Major League Baseball, they've kind of just realigned the minor league baseball system to where, they, in order to get people to be part of their minor league system, they have to have facilities up to a certain standard. They've got, and so they would send out Major League Baseball executives to hold these minor league teams accountable to where, to having certain types of standards for their players. And if they didn't meet that, then they kind of, in a sense, kicked them out. They used to have about 160 minor league teams. They just contracted that from 160 teams to 120 teams. And what that means is that you've had small communities here in the U.S. that had access to affordable family entertainment with seeing players of the future in the sport that they love. In a sense, that's kind of been taken away from them. And now they've had alternatives that have come in a certain way, but it's not to the same level, if you will, that it was before, because now they may have like U.S. college-based players now versus like professional players. So I know we're not here to talk about baseball, but and it's not the same thing. What's happening here now? It's not like a like for like, but money coming into it, money coming into it, and revenues are kind of the parallels that I make between that. And of course, in a lot of American sports, it's about making money. And a lot of U.S. owners like the Liverpool Fenway Sports Group, they own the Boston Red Sox here in Major League Baseball. You've got Stan Kroenke. He owns a team.
Glazers.
Yeah. The Glazers own the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like Stan Kroenke owns teams in Denver, Colorado, and all these other teams. So they're used to a different way of running a franchise, and they're not used to the relegation promotion model. And I think that probably has a little bit to do with it. I'm not in favor of it, because I think the magic of the Premier League of the relegation promotion system is that you have the magic of cup competitions. You have that competition that's inherent in making us. I think, Scott, you said it earlier so well that the EPL is marketed so well, the relegation battles and the top four battles and the titles. And with this new league, we're not going to see those.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore, does it?
No, like we'll lose those FA Cup minnows. You're going to lose those. Yeah, I mean, you're going to lose that. That team that makes a magical run in the Carabao Cup, like a non-league team. Making it to the 5th or 6th round of a cup competition.
I mean, Patrick, think about the teams like West Ham, Leicester, who are driving so hard for the Champions League, and they end up making it this season, let's say, for argument's sake, and there is no proper Champions League next season, and it's a Super League, which is a far bigger league, far gorgeous league, and all of a sudden Champions League becomes like a Europa League. So how do you think those teams are feeling? Because the whole top four just means nothing anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean anything, because you have these teams that have, you could argue have overachieved, but I mean, credit to them. They've done the job this season. The table doesn't lie at the end of the day, but like you said, what does it mean next season if this, follows through? And for the lower league teams, what are they going to do? Some of these teams in the National League, everything below that, even League 2, League 1 teams that have been forced to almost shut their doors.
Yeah.
About the Barry situation. There are teams there are local communities across the country, in England, and if this happens in other countries that have a lifelong affinity for a club, there's a chance that they may not have that club anymore, and they'll have to travel to go and see a different club. Now, that's maybe that's not me being a little extreme, but I can see that happening.
No, it's a good point, Pat. I was just going to say, Pat, just on that point, though, I think there's a fundamental consideration we're all not factoring in is the fact we've got these teams that are not consistently in the top 4 or top 6, and not just in Premier League and Serie A and La Liga, but the Leicesters of the world, the Atalantas of the world, all of those teams that are pushing the top 4. It's all about competition. This is the elite of the elite. And without the rest of the chasing pack, without the West Hams of the world, the Evertons, the Athletic Bilbaos, etc., the top 4 don't have an incentive to keep incrementally staying on their toes and improving. So when you challenge that, when you don't have that competition, who's pushing you to be better? Who's pushing you to deliver the quality that we love each game? If you don't have that incentive structure, then what's the point? You're just locking up.
And it's not as marketable. It's not as marketable, boys.
Exactly.
Because you need to be able, the best products, the best competitions are competitions that can be marketed at many different levels, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what, that's my concern with this. I have no doubt that the European Super League would make money. I have no doubt it would be highly profitable and highly sought after.
Yeah.
But like, for example, if the trade-off was, okay, Arsenal will be in the European Super League, Chelsea as well, but they're getting kicked out of the Premier League, I wouldn't want that, because that's our identity. And, you know, football started losing its soul a long while ago, boys. This hasn't happened overnight.
Absolutely right.
Our clubs are partially responsible for it. I mean, you guys are the products of a Russian billionaire. We're owned by Kroenke, who is just, I despise Kroenke. And, you know, we have to just look at the future. But, guys, thanks for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I do have to leave you now. Absolute pleasure. Patrick, just one thing before I leave. I just want to hear you say, "Come on, you Blues." I love it.
Come on, you Blues.
Love it. On that note, boys, I'm out. Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
No, brilliant, Scott. We'll have you on again some other time in my channel. But, yeah, it's been awesome, man. Thank you.
Anytime, guys. See you Thursday, Roston.
See you, buddy.
All right, let's quickly talk about this super chat here. I forgot to mention that big clubs are running a massive debt, and FFP really isn't working too. This is a massive part of. Let's talk about this. I've completely forgotten what. Let's go to you, Patrick. Patrick, with the whole financial fair play that's in place right now, if these boys go away and into their own league, what happens to the whole financial fair play that's been governed? First of all, what is the governing body of Super League? Who is governing them? Is there any rules? Is there any regulations? Can they actually go out there and just do whatever the hell they want to do, buy whatever they want to buy, you know, spend as much as they want to spend? It does not really matter, because right now there is financial fair play. So, I mean, there's that issue as well, Patrick, right?
Absolutely. And to answer your question, it might be JP Morgan. You know, with how much money they're putting into it, you know that, you know, if anyone that knows financial institutions knows that, you know, a company like JP Morgan isn't going to put in that kind of money without some kind of say. At least I wouldn't imagine they would. I mean, they're not a Fortune 500 company for nothing. And I think that we were already seeing FFP rules being relaxed anyway, right? You know, there was talk. There was talk of even being.
I think for the next 3 years or something, it's going to be relaxed.
Yeah, because I mean, it was already relaxed due to the pandemic. But then I've heard reports. I don't know how verifiable they are, but I've heard of it almost being scrapped altogether. And I don't know if that was true.
Do you reckon they knew that this was coming on?
No idea. And like I said, I don't even know that the reports I heard of that, if they were verified or anything. I was reading stuff on the TL basically. But maybe they knew something was on the horizon, but yeah, with no one, I think what RJ said earlier is so on point. Without that competition of relegation and, you know, because right now, you know, like you guys have in the A-League and Major League Soccer, we have the salary cap. There's no relegation promotion. So my local club, Atlanta United, it didn't matter. They finished near the bottom of their conference last year. They still come back next season and they're playing in the top division in this sport. So it's, you know, that's the magic of the promotion relegation thing for me. But yeah, I think that the sponsors are going to be largely the ones that are going to be pushing what you're going to have, and having that big investment from JP Morgan is going to speak volumes, because we've talked about how it's being run by money and greed, or at least I did. I'm sorry, I said that, and that with JP Morgan in there, that kind of only adds to the point for me.
What's your thoughts, Miz? What's your thoughts? I saw earlier, because this is one of those stakeholder groups here I had under government. You can't see that, but it says government. But basically, I saw Boris Johnson, UK Prime Minister, come out and have his view. And I always thought it's quite interesting when public sector enterprise has a viewpoint on a private sector enterprise. And I just thought his views were quite very clear about how he thought about this new Super League. And I just thought, what are your takes on this whole potential government intervention? Because ultimately, this isn't just a Sunday league. This is a major. This is from an economic output perspective. It's a major industry, so you can understand that this is a potential threat to the Premier League, and that potential threat to the Premier League, there's a ton of commercial considerations from tourism,
there's restaurants, food industry, there is the entertainment industry.
It's the macroeconomic impact,
massive, Ajay. And let's talk about this. I think this is quite important, right? This is the other side of it. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, there's a lot of talks that's been happening. There's some comments as well that they've been saying that if this breakout happens, then those teams, the Premier League may take a stance that you're not part of the Premier League anymore, because it dilutes the whole thing. What happens to the top four? You're not going to really try and make an effort, and all of that thing. So you're out, you're gone. So if that happens, who's going to watch the Premier League? If there's no top six in the Premier League, no one's going to tune in and watch West Ham and Leicester and Everton week in, week out, battling out in the Premier League. Let's face it, it's not going to be as marketable as Scott was saying. A product has to be marketable. It's not going to be marketable. So that's one thing. Second thing, the amount of tourism the Premier League was generating, obviously now it's the pandemic and everything sort of stopped, but it's not always going to be like this. The pandemic, we will get over it. The travel will happen one day again. It will start. There's vaccination and all of that. That's happening already. So we'll kickstart again. Obviously, Ajay, as you know, in Australia, we've started traveling with New Zealand. We've opened the doors with New Zealand. So eventually it's going to happen, right? So with Premier League, there comes the tourism. And with tourism, you've got hotels, restaurants, entertainment, clubs, all of that. Then people, when they travel, as you know, Patrick, we don't just travel just for the sake of traveling. We're going to go to shops. You're going to buy clothes. You're going to buy a whole heap of things. You're going to travel around in many different destinations. You're going to travel around different areas of the country. So if your product is not as marketable anymore, if the Premier League is not marketable anymore, well, there goes your sponsors sponsoring right now, and they're going to be start sponsoring the Super League, because that's where everyone's going in. As sad as it sounds, boys, and I just want to quickly bring out this tweet here. We Are The Shed has come out and said supporters will be heading to the bridge tomorrow from 5:30 to make their voices heard in the absence of being inside the ground. This is not aimed at the team, but the board. Take banners, take signs, but remain socially distant and wear a face covering if you can say F Super League. Look, guys, I just want to say that's all fine and well that they want to do that. But I just want to hear from you guys, and I'll go to you, RJ, first. If there is a breakout and teams go away and they start a Super League, I'm sorry to say this, I'm still going to follow Chelsea, man. It's my club. It's the only thing I've ever known since I started following club football. I cannot ever just boycott club football. I don't know any other way. So as much as people say boycott, it's not as easy as it sounds. You will end up following your club because it's in your blood. What do you have to say about that, Ajay?
It is, mate. It's the toughest question because it's a conundrum, mate. Like, at the end of the day, we all have a set of standards, values, ethics that define us, guiding principles, right? But at the same time, what's drawn us into this whole football universe? it's our love for our club. And that's me in particular. I've followed our club like many of the live chat or many other fans for many years, even when I had hair, surprisingly. But in all seriousness, it's a bit of comic relief. But in all seriousness, no, it's been multi-decades for me. It's been over 20 years, pre-Roman days. And as you guys know, I live in Australia. And like I said, I've been waking up countless hours of the morning, each game, not just a one-off game, like 3 times a week for over 20 years. And I'm not going to pretend here as a public declaration to say it's easy for me to flick it on and off like a switch because of something very dramatic. Look, if the club came out and did something like literally like ethically wrong, like they supported racism or something drastic like that, that's a whole moral difference. But this one here's on the margins. And I say on the margins because there's obviously some very clear losers in this scenario, grassroots, other clubs that aren't financially savvy. But then on the flip side of the coin, for me, a very powerful saying, boys, is truth is a matter of perspective. And the perspective of the club and the power brokers within the club and the other 11 clubs, they have their reasons for this. And obviously people say, yes, obviously money, profit, of course. But at the same time, I'm a Chelsea fan at heart. Am I happy with what they're doing on face value? Of course I'm not happy. I'm disappointed. I'm embarrassed to be affiliated with a club that on face value doesn't seem to prioritize the interests of the fans. And I'm a fan. You're a fan. Patrick's a fan. Everybody in the chat's a fan. But at the same time, through thick and thin, boys, it's like a marriage to me. We're going to have our hard times. This is another hard time in a relationship. But I treat this relationship with Chelsea as something very sacred. And I just can't turn it off and on like a radio. It's a difficult one, as I said.
No, for sure. Patrick, what's your thoughts on that matter as well? Like, if Chelsea do pull away, it's not like you can just forget Chelsea, right?
I mean, I can't. I feel very much the same way RJ does. I want to make it clear I'm against the European Super League. I think a lot of people are, but just to say that I will go like cold turkey and just stop watching them, that's a completely different kettle of fish. I mean, I haven't been following as long as RJ has. I've probably been supporting about 15 years this year.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard. I can't, like RJ said, I can't turn off the memories or the moments that the club has given me, the players, the legends that have come through the club.
Even treasure the tough times as well. Even the tough times as well.
Absolutely. And, I do believe, and for people that I don't blame people that do say that they value football over the club. I don't necessarily blame them for that, especially when you've grown up and, it's been your club from birth. Like I don't know what that's like necessarily, because obviously me being located in the United States, I've not had the affinity with the club as long as maybe some other people have. But from my vantage point, it's just, I'm not going to be able to just completely turn it off. Are there things that I might do in terms of like buying merchandise and, paying for, additional TV subscriptions? I don't know that, I have to see I have to read and learn more about it, but just completely forget about the club altogether. Yeah, that would be really, really hard for me to do.
No, absolutely. Boys, we're going to slowly start wrapping things up. Obviously, in 15 minutes' time, Thomas Tuchel is going to be in a press conference, which is going to be very interesting what he has to say. But before we get to all of that, I just want to say this whole Super League, apparently the way it's structured, there is no promotion, there is no relegation. So the teams are fixed. It will be, I think it's something around the 15. So right now there's 12, but they will get to 15. And then they'll invite 5 teams whenever and however they want to do it and whatnot. And they're potentially those 15 clubs can earn somewhere around $300 to $400 million season in, season out, because it is going to be the most glamorous competition out there in club football, which is going to just get all the sponsorship, TV rights. They're even touting that some of the fixtures may even be played in different neutral locations, like in the States or maybe in Asia, wherever. It's just going to be complete sellout. Do you know what I mean? It's proper money influx coming in. The issue with it is, boys, there is no promotion, there is no relegation. So you can't. So teams like Leicester, teams like West Ham, teams like all the other clubs around all other leagues, they can never ever dream about making this. Now, a lot of people are asking, well, what's the criteria? How did this come about? Well, the criteria is that, as we've said, it's been driven by Man United and Real Madrid. It's been well documented that these are the ringleaders. Man United and Real Madrid were the ringleaders, and 3 US-based owned company clubs in the Premier League have driven this. So I guess it's Arsenal, Liverpool, and who's the other US-based?
Manchester United.
Manchester United. There you go. So they're the ones who are driving this. So at the end of the day, these guys are superpowers in world football in terms of the revenues that they're making, and they're very big in the European level as well. So they've gone ahead and they want to do this. Now, clubs have made statements that this is happening. A lot of people still don't believe that this is going to happen, but the clubs have made statements that come 2021 August, every Tuesday, Super League games are happening. They're moving away from Champions League. So I don't know how much of it is really bluff, because this is actually happening. And now there's comments coming up that Schalke from Germany, who are just about to get relegated, apparently they want to join the Super League and ensure that they've got a stance there as well. So I'll go to you, RJ, first up. The whole ideology about no relegation, no promotion in this whole Super League, I wouldn't have, like as Scott said when Scott was around, I wouldn't have cared that much that they want to make a new league and make it, like a cricket-based IPL kind of sort of situation where, Patrick, you probably know IPL in cricket.
Yeah.
Like
yes.
they've made like a super league, all the best players around the world in the best teams. It's crazy. It's absolute mental. And it's always a sellout. The revenue the IPL makes is phenomenal. The players are collecting in millions for literally 20 to 25 games a season. They're collecting millions and millions, right?
Yep.
So RJ, the whole ideology that no one can come in, no one can come out, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, look, my whole philosophy is I think for top quality competition, a merit-based system works best. And it works best because everybody has the incentives to push each other to either stay at the level you want to stay at, or you get punished if you don't. And I think that it's not just as simple as what we see on the field, but keeping clubs on their toes is just that. It's keeping the whole club. So if you have, like in the A-League or the MLS, if you don't have that reward punishment structure, are we going to sustainably manage top tier elite football? That's my question. So Real Madrid, Barcelona, Chelsea, blah, 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 they might be these foundation clubs, but at what point does their goodwill and their superstardom start to diminish in value, because all of a sudden there is nobody underneath pushing you? And I was reading the club statement just quickly. They've said 20 participating clubs with 15 founding clubs, and a qualifying mechanism for a further 5 teams to qualify annually based on achievements in the prior season. So I suppose they've left the door open for possibility of other teams to force their way in. But the fact is, if you're a foundation club, it's pretty much put the cue in the rack and put your feet up, because you're in there and you don't have to try too hard because you're a foundation club now. So I don't need to try hard to stay on top of my game. So I don't like that idea at all. But again, I'm not too sure that this solution by these clubs is the right one. I do fully appreciate that they're addressing a perceived problem with the whole division of profits and the contribution gap. But I'm just not sure that this is the right way. And I'll put it out there. I dare say that I don't think that whatever we're seeing is the final version of what we're going to see by the time we get to August.
No, 100% agreed. Let's talk. Let's quickly start ending this. Let's talk a little bit about the Jose Mourinho. Obviously, we wanted to talk about that as well. Just to clarify, guys, Jose Mourinho did not get sacked because of the Super League and whatnot. There was some rumors that he didn't want to train, didn't want to get the players in training because he didn't want to. He didn't like the whole ideology about the Super League. That's not the case. Tottenham Hotspurs, with all the results and whatnot, have sacked Jose Mourinho. Just quickly on that, Patrick, I mean, I feel like this is the end for Jose. He really should stop. I mean, he's tried everywhere. He got that Premier League with us back in 2014-15, I believe, or 13-14, something like that. Last time with Diego Costa and Cesc Fabregas, can't really remember exactly. I think it might have been because we won the Champions League in 11-12, and then obviously we weren't there for 12-13. I think it might have been for
14-15
14-15. I think it's 14-15 probably that we ended up winning under Jose Mourinho. Yeah, 14-15. There you go, boys. 14-15, and since then, obviously the season after 15-16 was. Oh my days! I remember I was in London in December 15, and Jose wasn't there. It was Garcetti in the Watford game. And since then, he's not been the same. He's gone to Man United. Yeah, sure, he's won a few trophies there in terms of Europa League, and I think he won a League Cup over there. But once again, he had a fallout, and then he's gone to Spurs and fallout again. Patrick, do you feel, man, seriously, stop now and just become a pundit or just relax?
Honestly, I think his best course back then, again, just a personal opinion, I think it's maybe looking at that Portuguese national team manager's job whenever that opens up. I can see him in international football maybe. But, of course, with the way all this pans out, who knows what that's going to look like. But
this comment is pretty powerful, man. Once again, Declare, thank you so much for the timing of the sacking is weird. 1 week before the cup final,
100%.
It's as if they didn't want him to win it. Ooh.
Yep. Well, especially when, one of the few things Jose probably has left is that, he does know how to win cup competitions. So doing it like a week before, like you play the Carabao Cup final at Wembley against, Man City, maybe they wouldn't have won, maybe they wouldn't have, but are you telling me that, I believe Ryan Mason, is going to be along with Chris Powell, are going to be the caretakers for that for the rest of the season? And that's nothing against them, but are you going to, at the very least, are you going to try to take an experienced manager that has won cups and has a lot of trophies in his CV versus two caretaker managers? And Chris Powell's been a manager, but
I think it's but there's a bigger play here, and I think where Declared might have been going to with this is it's the cup itself. If this was a Champions League final or an FA Cup, I dare say, or the last game to determine the Premier League title winner, would they have been so hasty? Like, what I mean is, are they deprioritising the League Cup? Because what happens if Mourinho does what he does best more often than not and find a way to get the trophy, and all of a sudden it's a lot more difficult to say we're going to get rid of the guy who's just won us a trophy, because the long-term situation of Mourinho is that he hasn't been going so good. So all of a sudden, it's a lot harder to sell a narrative of getting rid of someone who's just won you a trophy after so long. So we're better off pulling the Band-Aid off now, because the chances of them succeeding anyway against City are slim at best. So it's just like a Band-Aid, boys. Just rip it off a lot quicker.
Yeah,
good point.
And RJ, do you feel this is it for Jose? He needs to stop now. Don't be looking around for any other clubs. Like, you failed miserably for the last few seasons. In the Man United as well, you didn't finish up that well. It didn't end well. Chelsea, the second stint didn't end well. Now Spurs literally did not last even 2 seasons. I mean, surely the man needs to stop now.
Yeah, I'm sort of with Patrick in the sense of perhaps an international gig, or on a more comical gig. Perhaps he's eyeing up the Bayern Munich role, but I very much doubt that they will wanting to take him up. But yeah, no, I agree. Maybe it's a bit of a time for a bit of a rest and respite for Mourinho, because I think the special one's slowly becoming less and less special as time goes on.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about this super chat. Thank you so much, Alex, for this super chat. Tuchel should convince his players and boycott tomorrow's game. That would be a huge statement. I don't know what tomorrow's game means, honestly. I really don't know. Do we care about a top 4 anymore? We were driving for a top 4, ensuring we make it to the Champions League. There is no Champions League. There's the Super League. We're confirmed. We're always going to be confirmed. Every season, we are going to be there. It does not matter anymore. We don't need to worry about top 4. So, man,
It's a good friendly. It's a good friendly.
It's a good friendly. And this is the thing, Patrick, right? It dilutes the Premier League. It dilutes the Premier League.
Absolutely. It's like I said, the more I hear about it, it's like I said earlier, and you guys know about this because you had it over there too, the International Champions Cup. Who put that on originally? They were American organizers. They were American organizers behind the ICC. And, and now, these ideas of having games in different, locations, like it doesn't even have to be European based. It can be in Asia. It can be in North America. It can be, in these places that have the financial resources necessary to host these teams. And so that's why I see all these parallels between the two, because some of the very people behind this concept were the very people behind the concept of the ICC. So,
exactly. I'm just thinking, am I allowed to showcase the press conference from here?
Well, it's a public thing. It's just whether or not technically will it come across clearly.
I don't think it's really copyright, is it? It's a public thing. I could probably stream it and we could watch it from here, right?
Well, if everything that's happening in the football world, anything's possible, mate. So,
do you guys want to stick around and listen to the press conference together and we can talk about it?
Sure.
Got my notes here ready to go.
All right, guys, to the live chat, hopefully you guys can stick around. We can just pretty much watch the conference from here. Hopefully I can actually turn this on. I hope that's exactly how it's done. I've got all the sound and everything turned on, I think. Let's just try bring in another different. I'm just going to try and see if I can bring one of my videos to see if I can actually play that.
While that's loading, I wonder just how much of a PR coach has talked to him about very carefully about what to say and what not to say. I wonder.
You guys can't hear that, can you?
No.
No.
I think there must be a way of doing this because it's coming from a where is it? Yeah, give me 1 second, guys. Can you hear that?
Not
Patrick, can you hear that?
No, I can hear like a little noise like in the background, but I can't hear the actual video. So I feel like there's something that I can't hear.
I can hear it, but I think give me 1 second. Let me try and figure this out. Nah. Wonder how to do something. This. No, I don't know how to do this, boys.
You're getting some tips on the side. Someone's telling you
for the comments.
Ms., are you using Zoom or something? No, I'm using StreamYard. Click the padlock at the side. Padlock. Tyrone, what are you talking about? Which padlock? If so, the share sound is at the bottom of the window when you click share screen. Okay. Share sound. I can't see any share sound. Load it on your phone for the audio and just put phone fairly close to the mic. Yeah, I want to be able to just do this without the phone. Let me just, it could be here, audio, mic, speaker. Just trying to figure this out.
It's almost like one of the most anticipated press conferences given the club involved. And
yeah.
Absolutely.
RJ, I think what you said about the PR coach, really coaching Thomas Tuchel up today. I'm going to be really interested to hear what type of, because that's going to be the first question. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they answer it.
Yeah, thoughts on Super League. That'll be the first question. Your thoughts on the Super League, or what do you make of the Brighton game?
Yeah.
Should we? Here we go. I think it's starting, boys. Let's maybe I'll have the volume here from. Give me 1 second, boys. You guys want to have it on in your phone as well, maybe?
I know it since yesterday. But I'm here to be in the hardest competition. That's why I came here. That's what I love.
You guys can all hear, yeah?
The toughest competitions in Europe. That's why I'm at Chelsea's. As you know, I don't get involved too much with all the subjects around us. I'm a bit sad that all these subjects are there now, because normally I thought we can talk about the Man City game and, more important, the Brighton game. This is maybe not the case today, but as you know, I'm part of this club. I want to play these hard competitions, and I trust my club to make the right decisions. And I think it's too early to judge everything, and it's not my part. On my badge from Chelsea, it says I have to play my role. Everybody has to play his role, and my role is to be a coach and to be focused. And we have an important game coming up tomorrow.
Tell me, what's the reaction been like among the players? What are they saying about it? The Premier League has made it pretty clear that being involved in the Super League would mean not playing in the Premier League. FIFA and UEFA say they wouldn't be able to play international football. What are they saying?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of comments, a lot of arguments, and a lot of opinions out there, and I absolutely don't want to get involved to it because I simply don't know the details. I know the situation, the general situation, since yesterday, like I said, but I have to play my role. I trust my club. I haven't seen the players yet. We trained today a bit later because we have a late game tomorrow. So we decided to push the schedule a little bit to give them more time for the recovery process after our tough match against Manchester City. And that's pretty much it. I think the best thing is to stay calm and to try to focus on our match, which is maybe now a little bit more different than it was before.
But in the light of the reaction to it from the fans, from the FA, the Premier League, UEFA, FIFA, governments, can you see this ever coming to fruition?
To what?
Can you see this happening or not?
Yeah, nice try. If I had a clear opinion right now, I would not mention it. But it's too early, I think, to judge it, and there are way too many opinions out there. And if I had one, I mean, let's be honest, I'm an employee of this club, and I trust this club, and my job is very clear. So I'm maybe not the right person to ask this. I can understand that you're curious. I can understand that there are many and very emotional reactions out there, which I can also understand, but I honestly don't know enough to judge it. I don't know the details. I was not obviously not involved. My players were not involved in these decision makings. So we have maybe the possibility, maybe it's a good thing to step back and to don't give our opinions and to don't lose our head about this, because this is clearly a thing between the clubs. And we have to make sure that we fight for the goals that we still have in this season, which is my job to do and the players' job to fulfill in the next days.
We're going to move on now, Ian, please, to focus on tomorrow's game.
Okay, look, the other big news that's happened in the last few hours is Jose Mourinho's departure from Tottenham, less than a week before they play in a cup final. What do you make of what has happened? Has the timing of it surprised you?
More or less, I'm always a little bit surprised when it happens, because we are all competitors and we all try to beat each other. But in the end, we wish that every manager has a good atmosphere and is in a good state and a good place to work. So if it happens, never feels good as another manager. But it's clearly also not my job to comment on that. And it's like it is. Everybody fights hard for results, and when a big decision like this is coming, was a surprise today. I honestly did not see it coming, but I was absolutely not focusing too much on, or not at all, on their situation.
You were playing in the FA Cup this weekend. Congratulations again on getting through to the final. Everton and Spurs drew.
Yeah.
West Ham were beaten. Was it a good weekend for Chelsea in the Premier League?
In the Premier League?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't play.
Yeah, it's better if our direct competitors don't win. Yes, but we have to do what we can do and what we can influence. And this is now the big target. We have an absolute crucial week coming up with Brighton and West Ham ahead of us. So in all direction, everything is possible, but it's in our hands now to make a huge step. And we come from a very successful, a very emotional, and very demanding week with games in Sevilla against Porto and in Wembley Stadium against City. So now is the moment today to put full focus on back on Premier League, and to make hopefully a huge step in this race. So it's a crucial week for us. There's no way that I will deny this, and I hope we will absolutely be ready tomorrow.
Thank you, Ian. John Southwood, 5 Lions.
Hi, Thomas. Are you concerned, worried at all that all the talk of the European Super League could be distracting for your players? I'm sure they've got plenty of questions they need answering. And will somebody from the club sit down with them and explain to them what is going on?
Yeah, maybe yes. In short words, I think so, to calm the situation down and to not enter in a situation where this affects our preparation to games. I think that here inside, it's for the players, like for me, we trust the club. We are employees of the club. I think it's the best if we do not get involved in sports politics and in all these situations. This is above our heads, clearly. And this is not the role that we have to fulfill to make this club successful. Everything that we could do is now to be focused, which is hard enough. But like you say, we have another big subject now around us, and everybody's talking. And I think that it's maybe impossible for the players to not be influenced by it. But still, it's way too early, and there are a lot of opinions out there. And hopefully, we can stay calm, like we are inside here in Cobham, and can have influence to the players that they don't get distracted, and that we can bring the performance that we need for tomorrow's game.
One of your players, Tammy Abraham, obviously wasn't in the squad on Saturday. Should he be a little bit concerned by that, about maybe his future at Chelsea?
I think that everybody is concerned who is not in the squad, and everybody is never an easy decision for me to take it. Sometimes we spend almost an hour talking after the last training, which decisions to take, which players we have to leave at home, because it's like thin margins which decide. Tammy has had this decisions now a few times against him, which is never personal, but this is life at Chelsea sometimes as a player. I hope that he does not get lost in too many thoughts, because he knows that from me also. That's why I speak about it right now. He knows that he is not be too concerned and enter in too many thoughts about all his situation. Everything he can do is stay focused, stay with belief. A moment and a situation for a striker can change in minutes. So I hope he's not concerned about his future. I hope the only thing he cares about is his training. We talked about it. It's the only chance to escape the situation, which is clearly not satisfying for him, but it's my responsibility to take these choices. And sometimes it's hard choices. Sometimes they are not even fair, because we have to find a mix for 18 players to have all solutions for substitutions for 10 positions in the game. So he has all right to keep his head up and to trust himself.
Will he be involved tomorrow?
Let's see, we have an important training coming up, and my decisions are not made yet. So we take every minute we have on the training pitch seriously, and that's the same for Tammy. And we decide this after the last training, like we always do.
Moose.
Thomas, how are you?
Hi, fine.
I need to ask you about the European Super League. I do apologise.
For sure.
Yeah.
We've answered now 4 on that. We're not going to do another one on that, I'm afraid.
I just need to do one, please. I just need to do one, please. I just need to ask one.
No,
Sorry.
we've covered it as much as we've covered it. We've seen everything we're going to have to say. Please move on to tomorrow's game. Thank you.
Okay, there are no fans at tomorrow's game. Obviously, it's behind closed doors. But fans are still going to have an opinion on the big news of the day, which I'm not allowed to mention. So do you feel sorry for your fans who will have an opinion on tomorrow's game, but also the possible setup of football going forward?
Well, I clearly don't have the right to speak out for the fans. The fans are old enough, and everybody is old enough to make up his own opinion and have his own opinion, and has the right to speak up and support or not support. Who would I be to judge for the fans what would be the reaction tomorrow? Honestly, I'm very sad that we get with the time we get used to play in empty stadiums, because this is not how this sport works on highest level. We play for the spectators and we play for our supporters. And I wish that everybody would be in the stadium tomorrow to support us, because we can need some help after tough matches. How can I sit here and judge what might be possible and what might be the reaction of the supporters? I simply don't know it. And let's have some trust in our club. Especially I have trust in our club, and everybody, and then let's get known to some more details, and then we see.
You mentioned the big week you've got with Brighton and West Ham. You're now in the FA Cup final and a semi-final of the Champions League.
Yeah.
In a sense, are those two competitions of more priority to you, would you say? Because if you win 3 games, you've won a double.
Yeah, and if we don't win them, we have nothing. So right now we have nothing. We are qualified for final and then semi-final, like you say. But right now, today, we have nothing. This is the truth. And I don't have the feeling that anybody dreams about having 2 titles when you don't have the titles. The truth is, you have a title when you have your hand on it, and better you have both hands on it, and better the referee already whistled and the game is over. Otherwise, you don't have a title. We have chances to have titles, but we have a big race, and we did not close this gap to judge, to give priority to any finals or semi-finals in Champions League. We have clearly 100% cleared out, and I trust my team to 100% clearly focus on next week. There are no more important games than Brighton and West Ham. This is absolute no-brainer for us.
And finally, since you arrived at Chelsea, you've got the better of Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, Jurgen Klopp, Simeone. You've got the better of pretty much every top manager there is around right now. Do you feel you've really, in the last 2 months, announced yourself on the domestic and on the European stage?
Well, I don't think like this, and obviously we had a big defeat against Big Sam. And there has to be a big revenge coming up soon. So, but I don't think like this. I never saw it like this, and I hopefully will never see it like this. That I battle against coaches. I am responsible for a huge club. the toughest league in Europe. And I am here to have these kind of competitions. So once you have at the other sideline the most influential and the most successful and the most charismatic coaches out there in Europe, you know that the challenge is on, and that's why I'm here. And that's what excites me a lot and what brings me out of bed early, like I mentioned before. And this is what it is. But honestly, I know very well that if you want to have results like we had and like you mentioned, you need also the bit of luck and you need the momentum. So I demand from myself also that we do not get carried away by this and think that I beat someone. We did not play tennis. And I clearly did not play tennis or chess against them. It is, in the end, I lead my team and the credit goes for the players. And when you arrive with a team which is able to perform and to create results against other strong clubs, then you're a happy coach, and this was this.
Okay, last two, Liam Toomey and Nick Pure to finish. Liam.
Hi, Thomas.
Hi.
Chelsea are in a position now where you have a lot to play for and a lot to win at this stage of the season. Is any part of you worried that the events of the last 24 hours and any possible consequences for the clubs involved could affect what you achieve on the pitch?
I only know it since some hours, so this was not too much time to get worried about it. And clearly, I hope not. Everybody wishes for a calm atmosphere. Everybody, of course, me, myself, and we here in Cobham, we wish for a calm atmosphere, calm situation, to have the full focus. Do we have it? Yeah, maybe not, but this may be our choice, and it is clearly our choice if we get influenced, if we read too much about it, if we get our heads lost in sports political stuff that we are not responsible for. We are here in this club to play our role and to make happen that we are challenging for on the highest level. And this is what I'm here for, and nobody expects anything else from me. Maybe you today, of course, and in the next days. But honestly, I'm the coach, and I have a team to coach, and this is the target. And nothing will change between me and the team. So hopefully, we stay calm. Sometimes in the middle of the storm is the calmest, and it's the calmest situation, the most calm situation. So let's hope that it's like this, and I don't enter even in this because would even sound like an excuse to me.
Last question, Nick Pure.
Hi Thomas, could you give us an injury update on the fitness of Andreas and Thiago? And just on Sammy's situation, I understand what you're saying entirely, but could you understand his position if he was worried? And is it difficult for a player to put that out in mind? Obviously, they just want to play and just and do the best they can in everything they've got going on. Could you have sympathy for somebody?
Absolutely.
So is it difficult to do? Yeah, is it just to sort of put that in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of sympathy for him, and I can absolutely understand that he is worried, that he's sad, that he's maybe angry on me when I do these decisions. I have full understanding, but what I absolutely appreciate about Tammy and about all the others who are in a bit of similar situation is the mentality and attitude with which he arrives nevertheless in the next days and the next morning and yesterday and I'm very sure also today, because he never lets feel the others and the group and gets affected the group by it. That's the main point, to be top professional. And don't get me wrong, it's also what we demand. If you sign up for Chelsea, you sign up for tough competition. If you're a player for Chelsea, yeah, you in your dreams and very, very likely in Tammy's dreams, we can absolutely be sure he wants to be the number 9. He wants to be the guy who starts for us every game. Yes, but like many other players as well. So it's a tough situation personally for him, in a good moment for the team. So you have to put your ego aside, and this is also what we demand of him. But this is what he gets a lot of credit for, from me personally, and from his teammates, because he's not letting anybody down. He's pushing, and we have some other guys, and I cannot be more proud on his reactions and on a reaction like from Emerson, who did not play for many games. He's always here with a smile, always pushing with quality, pushing when he's on the bench, ready when he's on the pitch. Like look at the situation from Kepa. This is amazing, and it's not that I can demand it, but at the same time I know how hard this is, and I can absolutely have sympathies for their reactions and for their feelings. That's why we need to take care about them, because it's not like a given that they react like this. But this makes a strong group in the end, and we have a lot of games coming in a tight fixture. Things can change so quickly in football, but you need to be ready. This is what this club demands. And this is what we demand from them. In terms of injury, I expect Andreas to be back and to be available. I hope he did a very good training session yesterday. I hope this will continue today. With Thiago, it's a bit different, not because of injury, but maybe because of acute overload after his injury with the 2 games. But he's not injured, so we have to take care a bit of his overload and see if it makes sense that he starts again. He's on the bench, but I think and I hope that it's only Kova that we have out with injury.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the.
There you go. He's so well spoken. I knew this was going to happen, guys, that he's not going to be able to give out that much information, which he pretty much didn't. And he pretty much said that I believe what the club's doing. I'll back what the club is doing. What do you think about that press conference? I'll go to you first up, Patrick. I feel like, I don't know, did he know about this? I feel like he didn't know about any of this stuff. And that's what I find very, very interesting, how it all sort of materialized, that how can no one not know about this, especially inside the club, that a European Super League was happening? Because genuinely from his conversation, it seemed like it just really got sprung up in the last 24 hours as well.
Yeah, I think from his perspective, that's all he's going to divulge anyway, because I think this is going to be, I saw in the comments, and I agree with a lot of the people over there, that's probably what you're going to hear from a lot of managers from the Big Six clubs is, they're an employee of the club. There's still a lot to be, to roll out with it. And, kind of how, we've talked about on this stream as well. And I don't think you're going to hear a lot of players, or managers for that matter, coming out vehemently against it. I think there's a reason why you've only heard from ex-players and, people from outside the game, governing bodies, the people that it really affects are still trying to process, I'm sure, not only how is it going to affect them, but before they put themselves in a precarious position, they're going to want to know, like what are the facts? Where is this going to put me? And because they know they're going to be on the front lines of fan pushback and pushback from a lot of different sources, because they've got the club on one side, they've got the supporters on the other side, and it would be easy. I can only speak for me. It would be easy for me to say that I demand Thomas Tuchel come out one side or the other on this, or that any Chelsea player come out one side or the other on this. But, if I'm being honest, if I were in that position, I don't really know where I would be. I mean, it's easy for me to say it when I'm not the one who has the blowback coming my way.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, and it's, obviously in an ideal world, we'd be clear on everyone's position all the time, but we're not going to get that. And, and I understand the passion from people wanting to know that. I respect that. But putting myself in their shoes, it's going to be really hard as an employee of a club who's paying your wages and people who have families at home and everything else to really come out, passionately one way or the other about it. If they do, more power to them and respect to them. But, if it were me, I don't know. I'd be on the fence about what I'd do. I don't know what I'd do at this point, especially knowing the amount of knowledge I have on it now. So that's kind of where I stand.
Absolutely, Patrick, man. I mean, first of all, Thomas Tuchel handled it very, very well, the way he always does. But at the same time, I felt a little bit helpless for him as well, that all of these journalists as well, I mean, they're going to push for this particular question. It was literally nothing about Brighton game. We don't know anything about the Brighton game.
Yeah, I mean, what is he supposed to say? I mean, like what are you supposed to say in that situation? He's going to be coming out today. There isn't going to be an owner that's going to have a press conference, a press conference today about this, but there's going to be the managers preparing for their next game, especially, Chelsea in midweek. I believe this is a rescheduled fixture. So how convenient is this that we have this? There's things that he's not going to say, and you can't expect him to say at this point.
I don't even think he knows either, Patrick. I don't even think he fully understands what's going on as well, just like us.
Yeah.
I mean,
as we said, before this thing started, how much of a PR influence would this press conference have? They might as well have just had a written statement from the PR saying this is our position on it, because it felt very, very prepared, very prescriptive, and in many ways pretty pointless, I must say, because
very
it was all
pointless.
not for anything. And it's just to be crystal clear, it's not a shot at Tuchel, because he handled himself very professionally. But as I put a quick tweet out, it's just the fact that he's caught between a rock and a hard place. He's a football fan at heart, and I'm sure he has his honest views that he talked to us about over a beer. But at the same time, he's an employee of the club, so there's a direct conflict of interest. And when you have a direct conflict of interest, what's the point of asking him? Because he's not going to be able to talk freely. So in many respects, and I think Alex Goldberg put a point out saying it's a pointless sort of press conference. And it's not like Tuchel is just going through emotions. It's crazy.
RJ, he's not going to come out and say, I completely oppose this. I don't like this. I can't believe Chelsea's doing this. He's going to get the sack. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
He can't say that. He has
and this is his livelihood, Miz. This is his livelihood. So when you and I as a fan can say, come on, Thomas, speak the truth, be honest, he's the one that's got his reputation as a manager on the line. So RJ, I totally sympathise for him.
He's got to earn the money, right? And this is the thing as well, boys. We've talked a little bit about this. Just quickly, AFTV, the 12 founding clubs of the European Super League have signed a 23-year commitment to the league. This is coming straight from the Sky reports. 23 years, guys. I don't think they're messing around. Honestly, they're not messing around anymore. This is going to happen, whether we like it or not. Here's another tweet from Fabrizio Romano. UEFA's Alexander Seferin confirms the players that will play in the Super League will be banned from playing in the World Cup and Euros. Seferin, they will not be allowed to play for their national. This is unbelievable. Can you imagine? Can you imagine some of the top players that are going to be in the Super League are part of their national squad? Oh my, I don't even know where to start with this, because you look at Germany, they're going to be absolutely blasted with this situation. You're going to have a C team German team. You're going to have a B team English team. Italy will have a B team, and Spain will have a B team. I don't even know what's going to happen to the World Cup and the Euros. And looks like it's a 23-year commitment. So
it's crazy, Miz. It's absolute madness, because another one of those stakeholder groups, we talk about the fans' perspective, because ultimately we're talking as on behalf of us as fans. And yes, we feel the ones that are going to be the most impacted and hard done by. But the silent sort of stakeholder group is the poor player stuck in the middle, the piggy stuck in the middle, because on one hand, they want to play for the elite clubs and get paid well and whatever. But the flip side of the coin is, as you sell the other side of the coins around, ultimately, as a kid, I'm sure that many professionals, and I'm sure, and I'd probably put Mason Mount in this category, when he said, I'd love to play for Chelsea because that's a dream, but equally I'm passionate and proud about representing my country. Now, if your club, your boyhood club says, we're going to join this new breakout league for 23 years, apparently, at least, and that means you can no longer fulfill your other concurrent dream of representing your club to a potential World Cup glory, that's a little bit of a loggerhead. Like, who's thinking about the poor old professional player here that's caught in the middle? So it's a difficult one.
This is the thing, Patrick, isn't it? That at the end of the day, these players, they got to earn a living, man. I mean, as much as they may not be happy with this, if there's a lot of, and I said it, like a lot of the fans, the super chat as well, some really fine comments coming through. Thank you so much, guys, for putting those comments. But there was a lot of fans in social media, especially in Twitter, Patrick, they were saying that the players need to make a stand. What stand are they going to take? They got to make the money, man. They can't make a stand here. If they take a stand, they'll get the sack. and there goes their livelihood. They've got loans, they've got families to feed, they've got kids that need a whole heap of money to give them education and food and shelter. And it's not as simple. And you never know. Like, the thing is, Patrick, they're going to probably get a massive, massive pay by going into this super league. So how do you deny that?
I was right on with you guys. I mean, I think the players are between a rock and a hard place here because, sure, and I've seen in the comments about how much the players make. I get that. You know, some of them make more in a weekly wage than
Look at this commentary. Look at this commentary quickly, Patrick. The players will leave. The other clubs aren't poor. You are deluded. First of all, Beetle, Pimp, just calm down with the deluded talk. You can still comment without being, so aggressive. But I don't think it's as clear cut. You know, the players will leave. I mean, you really believe Mason Mount's going to leave Chelsea?
Yeah, and it's a lose-lose situation for them because, you know, let's look at both situations here. Say that you stay with Chelsea or with a club that's in the European Super League. You're going to have segments of football fans that are going to say you're just money hungry and all you care about is money and you don't care about us. But then on the other hand, you're going to have other people, if they choose to go to a different club, then you're saying, oh, well, all these things that you said about caring about this club that those were all lies. So, and you know, some, maybe not everyone, but I think you're not going to make everybody happy no matter what you do. And and money is not going to solve just because they make a lot of money, they're still going to get criticism from other areas if they, choose the European Super League route. If they don't, but if they choose the national team route, there's going to be others saying, well, I don't care about that player anymore because, they're not trying to entertain me. So I really just think it's a lose-lose situation.
And Patrick, the other thing, and I want to get Raj's thoughts as well right after this, is that, Patrick, these players don't get years and years to do what they want to do. They literally get about maximum 10 to 15 years. If you're successful, that is. If you're successful, you get about 10 to 15 years to play and make the kind of money that you need to make for a lifetime.
Yep.
And for your kids and for your generation to set them up. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
You've got a very short amount of time to do this. And you've got to be a successful player to do this as well. So it's not like, they make a lot of money, they should be all right, they should just leave. No. Believe me, no. They have a lot of commitments. They want to set up a lot of things. But yeah, RJ, what's your thoughts on it, man?
Absolutely. Let's not pretend to be, I don't want to use the word delusional, but ultimately, yes, a lot of these top-tier players get paid handsomely. I think we all agree on that. But that's fine. We can put that to the side.
Yeah.
But the flip side is, even if these players take a stand and their value system says, I can't get on board with this, it just feels wrong, pick up and go. There's no guarantee that another club's going to pick them up and pay them at a wage that's suitable to meet their needs. Because like you said, is something that we're probably not privy to is a lot of these players, they not just aspire to play football because it's their passion and what they're good at, but they do it because they are often seen as the pillar to help provide the living for their family, for not just their family, but their broader family. So there's a lot of responsibility on these players' shoulders. And a very pertinent point that you made as well, Miz, is that the career lifespan of these professionals, so the top tier ones, so there are two categories. There's the top tiers and the medium and below tiers. So the ones that are in the medium below tiers, if you play for 15 years, let's just say, that's if you're lucky. What happens if you're at 23 years old, going for a challenge and you do your Achilles and you never get another professional contract and there goes your golden ticket? You know what I mean? So it's very naive. I understand. Yes, they make lots of money, but it's naive to say, pick up and go to another club that's going to somehow subsidize the big money that you were on because you're going to take the moral high ground. It's just not that simple. I'm not saying that it's wrong and it can't work, but to sit here and say that it's linear or a black and white decision, it's just simply not. That's not how reality or life works. It just doesn't.
Yeah, and this comment here from Super League Winners 2022. Thank you for that particular name change, my man. Mason is like 22, who's had 2 seasons at Chelsea. You think he's going to Ajax to play Farmers? Come on, man. You're right. I mean, I can't imagine him, packing up bags and just leaving Chelsea. He's going to have to find ways to accept this. Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah, and kind of building on what RJ said. Just because the European Super League has just been introduced, well, let's not pretend that this game wasn't already built on finances anyway. So, and so now
exactly right.
Yeah, and so now, even if you go to one of these teams, with the way that, let's face it, these top clubs that are going in there are where the money's at, because if the English Premier League doesn't have, a Chelsea, a Man City, a Man United, and these type of clubs, their TV contracts are going to be affected, no doubt, right? They're going to, when they have to negotiate, they're going to have a lot less leverage to bring on stuff like that, commercial partnerships, kit sponsorships, everything that these clubs depend on as sources of revenue, or that these leagues depend on as sources of revenue are going to, be affected. And, and so a Mason Mount, maybe has a certain value. If he were to leave to go somewhere else, RJ was referencing this earlier, you're not going to, are you going to really realistically make what you would make at one of these European Super League clubs? That's something you have to think about, because as you guys have eloquently stated, you have a certain lifespan as a player, and you've invested your life to build up to becoming one of these top caliber athletes to try to make what you can make. And it's not, I don't always blame the players for that, because they have owners that are willing to pay that kind of money for their services. So,
and it's the prestige, Patrick, as well, I might add. So you might have a dream to play for Real Madrid or a Chelsea or a Barcelona or whatever, and all of a sudden your whole career vision to play for that club now has to go take a backward seat because they've done something that's ethically questionable in other people's eyes. And so I think the whole point we can all three agree on is that it's just not a black and white vanilla situation for people. And to pretend that it is, I think I totally respect the viewpoints of it's a wrong thing and we have to take a stance. I understand that from our stakeholder point of view. Yeah. But I'm just trying to put that empathy hat on from the player standpoint. It's that it's not straightforward. And I think as long as we can think open-minded from their seat, then I think we're doing okay.
No, for sure, man. I don't think it's at all black and white. I just want to talk about this now for a moment.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a very good opportunity now for Abraham that maybe I should wait and not sign that contract? Maybe I should just relax and see what's going on, because Chelsea's going to be in the Super League. Maybe I get myself a bumper contract. Do you think somehow it sort of turned out nicely for Abraham that, okay, you don't want to play me? I don't really care. I still have a couple of years left in my contract. I'll stick around. I know you guys are, well, I'm pretty sure Chelsea have given him a contract extension. It's just he hasn't signed it yet because he doesn't think that it's adequate for him. He wants to earn a lot more money. And obviously he wants to be Chelsea's number one. But the whole money factor, I'll go to you, RJ, that sort of worked out okay now for Tammy, that he could possibly just wait around and perhaps he could get a massive payday down the track.
Why not? At the end of the day, it's one of those things where the ball's very much in his court, isn't it? He's got time on his side. He's got the English superstardom factor behind him potentially. So, yeah, I think his counsel's probably adequately advised him just to stay put, keep your head down, and just see what happens, because there's no need to rush.
He'd want to be part of the Super League, right?
Yeah, and that's right. And I think, again, the benefit from his point of view is ideally, of course, he wants to play game in, game out. Who doesn't? He wants to bang the goals in. But at the same time, he's not 29, 30 years old that really needs to escalate his playing time. He's got the prospect of waiting until the situation arises. So, yeah, absolutely.
Patrick, what's your thoughts? Sort of juicy situation for Tammy Abraham, and 100% I believe he wants to play in the Super League as opposed to the other Champions League, which is now, I feel like that's more like a Europa League. But yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Tammy Abraham kind of has his options open. I think every player is just going to naturally, in a competitive spirit, want to play on the biggest, maybe not the most competitive stage with the no relegation promotion, but the biggest stage where you get the most eyes, right? Because, let's face it, there's going to be a segment of fans that watch the European Super League somewhere. If it's not, someone's gonna watch it somewhere. And
I think a lot of people will watch it. A lot of people will watch it.
Yeah, so it's I could see him, maybe signing that, like you said, Miz, not signing a contract at this point has probably been potentially financially advantageous for Tammy, and it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. I think that we can't underestimate his love for the club, because obviously coming through the academy in the way that he has, so it's going to be interesting to see how he balances playing versus, staying with the club. But I think whatever he does, I think that he'll get a nice contract, whatever he does, because I think there's going to be someone that wants to pay to see Tammy play.
And the other thing as well, boys, I'll go to you, RJ. Entering the Super League, there's been some talks that's been circulating that the initial pay you get is about 4.3 billion to join in as start. That is to take care of all the pandemic issues, clear it all out, clear your balances, start preparing your infrastructure for this particular league. You may need bigger stadiums and all of that. So massive amount of money that they're going to get just by joining this league straight up. So I don't see how this Super League doesn't happen, and how some of these clubs don't take the advantage of this. And then on top of that, I don't see how the players don't say yes to it. Eventually you say yes to it, because ultimately, what do we all drive for? Money.
Well, especially the fact that some clubs are in better financial positions than others. So, for example, obviously Barcelona's having their struggles. Real Madrid haven't been quite the powerhouse that we've become affiliated with. Inter Milan, my Serie A team, they've had financial distress. So I think when someone comes over and dangles a very lucrative carrot, you're going to bite it, because ultimately you've got to think, yes, we're fans. Yes, we have integrity and morals and all that fibre. But from a chairperson's point of view, the stakeholder groups that matter to most are shareholders, first up. Secondly, you are socially responsible for your employees. So if someone comes up with an offer to give you not only just financial freedom from distress, but an astronomical improvement from a financial perspective, you have, from a corporate point of view, an obligation to accept that dangling carrot, because you have a loyalty first and foremost, and from a business point of view, to those shareholders and to the employees of the club. Some will turn around and say as well, but you've got customers, and the customers are the fans. Sure, I understand that, and I am a customer as a fan. But again, if someone like JP Morgan or whoever's dangling that very lucrative carrot at you, you've got to think. It's like if you own a business, Miz or Patrick, and someone says they're going to give you a ton of money to protect that business, or in turn improve your family, because your family is your shareholders. I'm sorry if I've got a bunch of fans on my channel that depend on me to have that independence, but if I can protect my family as the shareholders, or I can protect my employees, you've got to do it. And again, this comes back to that truth is a matter of perspective, and that this whole scenario, sometimes it's not a win-win outcome, it's a win-loss outcome. And unfortunately, we just need to be a little bit more open-minded to the commercial realities of how the world works. And it's not pretty, but hopefully something we get to is a better outcome. So we're just going to have to watch this develop.
Yeah, boys, let's slowly wrap this up. We've been obviously streaming for a while. I just want to quickly say that obviously we have a game coming up against Brighton. If we all consider that, perhaps top four is still up for grabs and whatnot, it is still an important game. Obviously, West Ham has lost against Newcastle. That's an opportunity for us. We get that victory, we go ahead, and then obviously we have West Ham after that. And of course, we're going to learn a lot more about the Super League situation over the next 24 hours and 48 hours and so on, so forth. Looks like against Brighton, Christensen is available tomorrow. Thiago Silva is not injured, but has a bit of an overload recently, so probably Thiago Silva is not going to feature, and rightly so. He played a magnificent game against Manchester City and deserves a rest. And hopefully Christensen, if he is available, that he can come in. If not, Zuma is still available as well, so Zuma can fill in that position. Kovacic is still out, which is fine. I think there's going to be quite a bit of rotation anyway off the back of that particular match, and obviously Porto before that. Just before we wrap things up, I'll go to you, Patrick. Thoughts on the Brighton game?
Well, I think you covered it well in that. If top four is still important, it's an important game. Every game, I know it's an overused phrase. I know I've overused it that, every game's been a cup final, but I mean, that's kind of how it feels in terms of, you can argue now, depending on who you are, whether the game's important or not, but you're still going out and playing the game. And as competitors, as the players are, they're going to want to win. And it's good to see that Andreas Christensen is back. It's good to see that, they're still managing Thiago Silva. But, let's not underestimate. We know that Brighton is a good team on their day. RJ, I know you say on many occasions, they play some of the best football in the league, and I agree with you.
100%.
And Patrick, do you reckon with all the news, Brighton will be like, top six big clubs, Super League, let's show you up now. We're really going to show you up. I feel like they're going to come out.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, they're going to have a lot of the country behind them as well. I don't think it matters what Big 16 you support. If you're one of those teams outside of that six that have been reported for the European Super League, you're going to have a lot of people rooting for you to beat said teams. So, and there's going to be a lot of motivation from those players as well, I'm sure, because if you're kind of on the outside looking in, it's just kind of a natural inclination to kind of get jazzed up for the game, and they're going to be ready to play.
Exactly. RJ, your thoughts, man. Do you feel like Brighton players will be looking at Chelsea players are like, oh yeah, let's play, big boys. Let's really put you on the money now, and we're really going to showcase that, you're the top six dogs out there. You're creating a Super League, and we're some sort of, minnows. We know very well, RJ, in the Premier League, there is no minnows. Every single team can do their madness when when the opportunity comes. Also, shout out to Matchday Vlogs. These are Southampton boys. Lovely chaps from Southampton. They've got a brilliant channel that they run. The only way this is stopped is sabotaged by the fans of these top six club. Take the stand. Simply not watching the Super League games will do nothing. Global viewing numbers trump UK population. My man, we kind of touched on this earlier, and I just want to quickly say it before I move on to RJ, is that for the international fans, it's very, very tough, man. I mean, and also just fans in general. Eventually, okay, maybe we might boycott the first match, the second match, but eventually you're going to miss Chelsea too much to not to see them. You're going to give in, man. They know this. They know this very well, that this is an addiction. This is in our blood. We will do all our level best to end up seeing Chelsea wherever they're going. As much as I understand what you're saying, boycott it, but it's easier said than done. It is easier said than done. It's like saying to the players, don't play, don't show up to training, don't do anything. They can't. They're going to have to. It's their job. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, RJ, go on, man. Brighton game.
Yeah, excuse the pun, but I'm not feeling very bright about it all at the moment. But in all seriousness, I just think you're right. I think they're going to come out with the mentality like a lot of these other non-super European Super League clubs that are going to have the viewpoint of, we're just going to put that name to the test. Do you deserve the title of being in the Super League? And we're going to keep you nice and honest. So, as you said, Pat, I've been banging on about Brighton for some time on the It's a Football Thing podcast, but because when I look at the XG philosophy, meaning if they were a bit more clinical with their chances, they'd be a top six sort of side. So I give them full respect.
XG, right? They got a massively high XG.
Yeah, top six, I believe. And I just think that, unfortunately, they're just not converting them, a little bit like us in many respects. So I give them a lot of respect because I do believe they play good football. But I just think in general, it'll be two things, hopefully. It'll be, well, actually, I don't want it to happen. It's one thing, Brighton will be extra motivated to sort of prove their case that they should be given the respect they deserve. But equally, and Tuchel sort of alluded to this in the press conference, is the fact that we can't guarantee that we're immune from these distractions. And that's a reality of it. Because if you're a player now, your head's being turned. You're thinking 23-year commitment, Super League, top four, who cares about that potentially? Against an equally motivated Brighton team that says, why not? This is our time to pound. So
I'm scared
that these stars don't align.
I'm scared. I'm scared, RJ.
It is. And West Ham as well. Like, West Ham is a London rival, but they're probably going to be even worse than Brighton in the sense that A, we're rivals, they don't like us already, and B, they're already a top four club and they're going to be keen to show the world we should have been one of the teams that you considered, not Chelsea.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
West Ham are gonna come out all guns blazing, and knowing West Ham, they're doing so hard, they're working so hard to make it to the top 4, and all of a sudden next season top 4 means nothing. The Champions League really means nothing because the
100%.
big boys have stripped away and created their own league. Rodrigo, thank you so much for this super chat. I'm actually happy with the ESL, European Super League. Only need to tweak the relegation bit. It's a great idea. UEFA not saying, look how they allocate ticket for use. Look, we've said it earlier in the stream with Scott and everyone when they were there, and I'm pretty sure Patrick will agree with this. I don't think it's a bad idea had there been promotion and relegation. Because I always knew this was probably going to happen in the sense that the big clubs are too big and they don't want to play Mickey Mouse games. They may be stripping away, but make it even so that others can join in as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, make it that there is relegation, there is promotions and whatnot, and that, you know, West Hams and the Leicesters can make it to the Super League and earn the big money just like you guys. But you've closed it. And this is the whole, you know, the way Patrick has said that, like the American philosophy in the sense that how NFL is run and Major League Baseball and all of that, like it's shut, isn't it, Patrick? Like there is no relegation and promotion. It's those teams and it's stuck. And those teams are guaranteed those fixed revenue every year, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, and each league does it differently, but yeah, I mean, there's like collective bargaining agreements is kind of what, you know, kind of what they have is the player, you know, they have collective bargaining agreements about how revenues will be shared, and it's done a little bit differently across the different sports, but yeah, largely that's what it is.
Exactly. At the end of the day, the whole theme here with the European Super League is that it's going to be fixed income. All of these big clubs, they know they're going to get X amount of money, which is touted to be 3-4 times what they're getting right now in the Champions League. And it's fixed every year. So,
and you know what, Miz? You know what I was going to say with that as well, given the significant financial influx with this European Super League, it's the effect of them having that financial strength to be able to ensure that they are in a position to sustainably continue to transfer the good players that come from other leagues, because they'll simply be too strong. So they can, like a Chelsea, for example, take them. We might have had financial fair play restrictions, even though they've been relaxed, to all of a sudden say, let's go buy Haaland, let's go buy Declan Rice, because we've got a ton of money now. That's no longer an object.
Fantasy football. And this is the thing, you know, once you start having Super League and you know, if they still want to be part of the Premier League and whatnot, and as you said, RJ, they're going to have all this money influx. They're going to be far ahead in the Premier League as well. They're going to get the Haalands, the Declan Rices. It's going to be a fantasy football, and teams like West Ham and Aston Villas and Evertons, forget about it. They will never, ever touch these top dogs ever again, because all of their players will end up playing for these top 6. Like your Grealishes. Patrick Grealish is probably looking at this and like, I need to get into one of these top 6 teams ASAP. I need to be there. He's probably telling his agent, get me a contract to Man United right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jack Grealish is a top 6 club player. He's just, you know, he carries Villa at times, and no disrespect to Villa. I mean, they've been good this season, but yeah, your players like a Grealish and, you know, a Declan Rice, you know, players like that, at the very least, they're going to be intrigued by the possibility of playing for one of these teams and this concept. Because I think there's, whether people are for or against it, I think there's going to be, you know, it's in the news, right? And there's going to be people intrigued by the concept of what this could mean for them. And, you know, I mean, I'll be honest, if I was in their position, I'd be intrigued by it too. And, you know, I'm not saying that for or against. I'm just saying, you know, let's just say human nature means you're going to be intrigued by something new.
Exactly.
And that's what's going to happen.
And it's perception. It's perception of being included in the top league. And that's very real for these elite professionals. And that comes back to that whole paradox or that whole mental struggle. On one hand, players probably want to be contributing to the lower teams being financially disadvantaged. But on the flip side, as a professional, you want to be seen to be competing with the best because you want to push yourself and you want to earn a lot of money. So it's, again, it comes back to this theme of it's not a straightforward thing, especially for the players.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. Yeah. I think that's a great point. Sorry, Miz. I think that's a great point because even though there won't be a relegation promotion scrap, there's still the competitive nature of playing against the very best players in the world. Yeah. And so there's that aspect of competition where, a Declan Rice is going to want to say, I'm the best defensive midfielder in the world, whether you agree with that or not. He's going to want to prove it against, the best defensive midfielders in the world that play at these, Super League clubs outside of, the only ones that won't be there are, the ones that are at PSG and Bayern and places like that. But
I'm pretty sure they'll join as well, man. I'm pretty sure they'll join.
The only thing on that I can see that would be different would be like in the Bundesliga with like the Bayern structure in terms of like the fan ownership. I don't know. I don't know all the.
There's talks about Schalke wanting to join. There's all these media stuff that's happening that Schalke wants to join. Can you imagine if Schalke gets in on this in the Bundesliga? There's no way Bayern and Dortmund and Leipzig are going to say, "Oh, we're just going to sit back." Schalke is going to earn all this money and they're going to dominate. Yeah,
I mean, Schalke joining, and I saw what was it? One other team was, I think it was Wolfsburg that was maybe in talks. Or they were in talks or were potentially interested in it. I don't know if that is true or not, but yeah, I mean, if it's definitely different if you have a whole league that is there in solidarity to not join. But if you pick off one team here and another team there, then that might change things. I don't know enough about the ownership structures to really know how to what extent that's allowed, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Now, this comment here from Machiavelli, thank you so much. Founding clubs will receive an amount of 3.5 billion solely to support their infrastructure investment plans and to offset the impact of COVID pandemic. Football is dead. This is what I was telling you guys. Schalke, teams like Schalke get in on this 3.5 billion. They are set. They will laugh at Bayern Munich. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, especially Scott made this point earlier because they'd be in the situation of, no disrespect, but like an Arsenal and a Tottenham, and that they're not in these places at the moment, or they're not even in they're kind of out of that sphere at the moment, and this is a guarantee to kind of get that money that everyone's going after. Because why do you want top four? You want the financial benefits of it. Why do you want to get promoted to the Premier League? Because you want that TV revenue. So, this is just a different mechanism to try to get that money. And as you guys have eloquently pointed out earlier in the stream, it's, this is that guaranteed way to get that money without having to depend on results on the field. You can now depend on factors off the field, off the pitch to get that financial windfall that you want. And I think that the COVID-19 pandemic has only whetted that appetite even further.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Ajay, you wanted to add something?
No, I was just quickly going to mention that from an international standpoint, I think I had it in my pros and cons, and obviously there's a lot more asterisks in the cons market, but one of the things potentially as a pro is from a global physical attendance standpoint, and we touched on it slightly earlier, Miz, is that one of the things we might stand to benefit from Australia, Asia, America is the fact that this European Super League might create opportunities like the ICC you mentioned before, Patrick, to better engage physically with those non-traditional match day going fans. And I think this is that whole concept of and I don't like the term, the legacy fan versus the new market fan. Yeah. But I think that might be a way there. It's a very small silver lining in a very big and dark, cloudy situation. But like you mentioned earlier, Miz, with Scott, if we can see some games of the echelons of a Real Madrid versus Barcelona in Sydney more frequently, I'm not going to lie and say I don't think it's a good thing from me sitting in my home in Sydney to be able to physically attend some of these matches. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of pros and cons and moving parts, and it's a bit naive to say that anybody's got it all figured out.
No, I've said it earlier in the stream, and Patrick, you probably agree with this. Yeah, Patrick, which particular state that you're residing in America?
I'm in Georgia.
Georgia. So let's just say, for argument's sake, Chelsea take one of these Super League games to Georgia. You're going to go, right? You're 100% going, regardless of how much this costs. Even if it means you have to take a personal loan to go there, you would go.
Oh, absolutely, I'd go. Yeah.
There you go. So they know what they're doing. We'll end this now, guys. Just quickly, Bruno Fernandes is a new player that's come out, and this is quite big because he is part of that super sort of European League, one of the clubs. Potence in Instagram had just posted that the ball, the song, the dream, and then Bruno Fernandes sort of put it in his story saying dreams can't be bought. I think that's what it means. Dreams can't be bought. And we need more players to do this. But once again, I don't know. Some of these players really need to watch themselves, because there's a fine line as to what you start putting in social media, which goes against the club. And someone like Bruno Fernandes, he should know the owners of Man United is, the Glazers, and they will not take it lightly.
It's a little bit cryptic, isn't it? That was a little bit cryptic, though, because Potence, he didn't say anything about Super League or anything. He could have just made a generic statement saying football and dreams, and Bruno can turn around and say, all I did was clap because it's a generic statement. But they're flirting with the margins there, I'd have to say.
It's all about the timing, isn't it, RJ, though? It's all about the timing.
And if someone tries to spin it, then he'll say, well, that's not how I read that tweet.
Super League? What's that? I didn't know anything about Super League.
Right. And it would be like, I just love football. That's all it is. And so, you'll kind of step back from it, and you'll kind of do something, and you walk back from it just a little bit. So be interesting to see if and when that happens.
Do you want to just quickly answer this before we wrap things up from the Southampton Boys Matchday Vlogs? Great debate for your guests from the States. Do the leagues without promotion and relegation still feel competitive, or do they feel like an exhibition preseason games? Something very interesting question, something that you can answer, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say they don't feel like, I guess maybe I'm used to it, but they don't feel like exhibition preseason games to me. And that's more because of the playoff system that we generate a lot of time, because there is a championship. It's not like an exhibition preseason game where, where it doesn't fit that way. I would say it does feel competitive because the system is built on playoffs, and for those that don't know, like it's, if you finish so high in the league.
Yeah, just quickly say, because I think that European Super League will be similar to that. So it's like two conferences, because the Super League will be two sides of 10 teams. And then they reach to a playoff, quarterfinals, and then, eventually finals. Just explain to us, because I think in NBA they have the playoff systems as well, the conferences.
And even in Major League Soccer, they have conferences. So if you finish in I forget, they've tweaked the playoff system a couple of times to expand it, which that kind of takes away from the magic of it a little bit. But normally, if you finish within the top end of a conference, you'll go into. Normally, it's broken up into like Eastern and Western part of the United States.
Yeah.
Baseball is a little bit different, but if you have a good enough record in your regular season games played, and you have enough points in Major League Soccer or in the NBA, a good enough record, and your winning percentage determines where you finish in terms of the conference, then you go into a playoff system, and usually it's a seeded type thing. So the team with the best record would be considered like the number one seed in a conference.
Right.
And then they would play, like in the NBA, it's like an 8th seed. So the top 8 teams in the NBA, the top 8 teams in the Western Conference and the top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, go into a playoff system. And then they try to make it through their brackets, for the lack of a better term. And they play their side of the bracket, and they try to make it to the final or the championship. And they fight for a trophy in that regard. And that's the way that's the way that most American sports are built, is around like a playoff type system. And you have to, and I know that's a very foreign concept to like European leagues, but it's, you are trying to fight to get that. Your notoriety here isn't necessarily just staying up. Your notoriety is like, how many trophies have you, how many championships have you won? How many, your success is judged on playoff appearances and making deep runs.
Yeah.
So the barometers of success are a little bit different in a playoff system versus like what I would consider to be in a promotion relegation type system.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because when I used to follow a little bit of NBA, it will always be about how many playoffs did you make? How many championships did you end up getting? Like the Bulls, with the 3 in a row and then 3-peat again, and they won 6 under Jordan and all of that. Yeah, it'll be something to get used to, obviously, guys. But live chat, hope you guys enjoyed this. I will put timestamps on the different topics that we've talked about. Obviously, the Super League, we touched on the Jose Mourinho sacking as well, and obviously the Thomas Tuchel press conference. So much is happening in football. Honestly, just take a moment, relax, just have yourself some drinks, unwind. And look, it is going to develop a lot more over the next 24 to 48 hours. We have a game coming up, Brighton. I'm not really sure how I'm really going to do this preview. I might just do a short 10 minutes video tomorrow and put it on YouTube. I might not even do a stream for this. And we'll see what happens in the review, how the match goes. And then we'll see what I do in regards to the review. So, guys, look out for my preview for this match coming up for Brighton tomorrow. And then, maybe I'll see you guys for the stream straight after the Brighton game. But if anything exciting comes up within the next 24 to 48 hours, I'll probably do a live stream to cover that as well. Get my main man RJ in, and if Patrick's around, he can come along, and Scott, and so on. But until next time, everyone, take care and goodbye. See ya.